Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Chapter 1. The light illuminated the entrance to a spacious underground tunnel. On one side, a blocked wall was visible, and on the other side, a closed door marked the entrance and exit of an elevator. At this moment, hundreds of men and women gathered in the tunnel, either indifferent or wary. These individuals were the candidates who had came to take the Hunter exam this year. Ethan, what's wrong with you? Is there something off about those people? Standing in front of the steel pipes lined up along one side of the tunnel, Ethan Wells was gently nudged by Lisa beside him, as her low voice sounded in his ear. Ethan, who sat cross-legged with his back against the pipe in a casual posture, suddenly snapped out of his trance and turned his gaze away from Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio, who had just stepped out of the elevator. Lisa turned to look at him with a curious expression, occasionally glancing at the trio near the elevator with doubtful eyes. It's nothing. I just thought of something, so I was a little distracted. Ethan shook his head, offering a reassuring smile. Okay. Seeing that Ethan seemed fine, Lisa felt relieved and continued to observe the other candidates in the examination room. Although the two were not weak, this was the Hunter exam, after all, a gathering of elites from around the world. They couldn't afford to let their guard down. Returning to Ethan. After finishing the conversation with Lisa, Ethan turned around. The smile on his face quickly faded, replaced by a surge of complicated emotions. The reason was simple. Just moments ago, when Gon and his friends entered the examination room, a melancholic sound suddenly resonated in his mind. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for passing the trial and successfully activating the All Heavens Achievement System. This was the prompt that had sounded in Ethan's mind, signifying that his special ability had finally come online. 5 years, do you know what I've been through in these past 5 years? Even though Ethan had developed a strong will over the past 5 years, he couldn't suppress the sadness and anger in his heart. Ethan was a time traveler, but he hadn't just arrived in the current Hunter x Hunter world. He had been here for 5 years. He had arrived not just through time travel but also found himself in a younger body, becoming a 13-year-old boy. When he first traveled to this world 5 years ago, Ethan fantasized about having the special abilities typical for time travelers. However, after countless experiments, he realized he didn't have any. 5 years is a significant amount of time, especially in the world of Hunter x Hunter, with its extraordinary powers and high risks. He started as a weakling. Over the past 5 years, Ethan had experienced the most basic survival challenges, pursued strength, and fought to become stronger. The process was fraught with hardships and thorns, and he had even skirted the brink of life and death several times. He initially thought he would continue to struggle in this world as an unconventional time traveler, but now his special ability had come online, revealing he was actually a conventional time traveler. There was surprise, but also sadness and anger, because if his system had been online earlier, he might not have had to endure the hardships of the past 5 years. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for completing the 5-year survival achievement. Reward: breadfruit, dragon elephant essence pill, storage space. As if responding to Ethan's grief and anger, the system's mechanical prompt echoed in his mind again. The sadness and anger abruptly ceased, and a series of question marks appeared in Ethan's mind. After a brief silence, he finally began to check the details of the system honestly. When the system was activated, relevant information appeared in Ethan's mind, but he hadn't checked it in the midst of his grief and anger. Now, after carefully reviewing it, he quickly absorbed the system information. All Heavens Achievement System. Which means, after I complete various achievements released by the system, I can receive various rewards. After understanding the system information, Ethan began to think thoughtfully. His previous sadness and anger vanished entirely, replaced by strong interest. Undeniably, although his system seemed somewhat unreliable, now that it had appeared especially in the high-risk world of Hunter, it represented a huge opportunity not to be missed. The system's name is the All Heavens Achievement System, and its function is to provide rewards when Ethan achieves various accomplishments. Achievements are divided into main achievements and side achievements. Main achievements are tasks listed at the system's initialization. Upon examining it, Ethan learned about tasks like Professional Hunter, Gate of Trial, Fandom Troop, etc. For example, the main achievement, Professional Hunter, requires Ethan to pass the Hunter exam to become a professional hunter. Once completed, the system will grant generous rewards. Side achievements, on the other hand, are trigger-type tasks. When Ethan interacts with certain things or people, side achievement tasks may be triggered. Upon completion, the system will also provide certain rewards. In other words, this 5-year survival was not only a test by the system but also a main achievement task. After reviewing the system, Ethan quickly understood everything and focused on the system prompt. Without much hesitation, he directly received the reward. There was no external change, but internally, Ethan immediately felt his consciousness connect to a strange space. This space was about 5 meter in length, 5 meter in width, 5 meter in height, one of the 3 rewards given by the system storage space. In the storage space, except for living organisms and items exceeding the storage volume, Ethan could freely store and retrieve any items he came into contact with. Simultaneously, there were 2 items in the storage space, which were the other 2 rewards given by the system. One was a golden, longan-like elixir, and the other was a strange fruit covered with spiral patterns. Chapter 2, Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill and Thread Fruit. Ethan Wells could mentally connect to the storage space and view its contents. As he focused on the 2 items inside, his heartbeat quickened. There was no denying it, both of these items were incredibly tempting to him. When the system provides rewards, it also offers relevant information about each item. Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, a body refining treasure pill from a certain world. Consuming it can significantly increase a person's strength. Thread Fruit, a superhuman devil fruit from a certain world, which allows the user to freely produce and manipulate threads upon consumption. With system improvements, all defects have been eliminated, making it perfect. The information related to the rewards was simple but sufficient to convey their significance. If I calculate based on the method from my previous life, the strength of 1 June is equivalent to 30 kilograms, then the strength of 1,000 June is 30,000 kilograms. In other words, this Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill could give someone the power to lift 15 tons. And then there's the Thread Fruit. This should be the devil fruit from the world of pirates, specifically the Parimsha-type thread fruit. Most importantly, the last note indicates that its defects have been removed, making it perfect. This means the curse of the devil fruit is gone. No longer being weakened by the sea. Over the past 5 years, even without the golden finger, Ethan had grown far from the weakling he was when he first traveled through time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to attempt the Hunter exam. In fact, he was now considered a master. In the first 3 years, he mastered the martial arts he learned from this world through relentless effort and sweat, reaching the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. In the following 2 years, after meticulous planning, he successfully opened his aura nodes and became a non-user, specializing as an enhancer who could regenerate his physical energy with his mind. Now, even in pure physical form, he possessed nearly 5 tons of strength. Yet, compared to the effects of the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, it was evidently lacking. These days, a single pill could grant an increase of 15 tons of strength, so how could Ethan not be intrigued? The same applied to the Thread Fruit. The power of the devil fruit was not inferior to that of Nin, especially in its perfect form, free of flaws. If he consumed it, it would essentially make him an extremely rare double Nin user. Suddenly, a shrill scream echoed through the tunnel, drawing the candidate's attention. Ethan, who was contemplating his precious rewards, immediately snapped to attention. He glanced toward the source of the scream with alertness. Oh! It's truly magical. My arm turned into petals and vanished. I didn't even do anything. Be more careful next time. If you bump into someone, you should apologize. Blood-colored petals fluttered as a candidate knelt on the ground, watching in fear and pain as his arms gradually disappeared, transforming into petals scattered through the air. Meanwhile, next to this candidate stood a figure dressed like a clown. Although he appeared concerned, he was actually chuckling with a bizarre smile. Ethan, this guy is indeed very dangerous, just as you said. Lisa, who was sitting nearby and observing the other candidates like Ethan, quickly focused on the clownish figure with fear and whispered to Ethan. Yes. This person needs to be watched the most in the upcoming exam. Ethan replied softly. Although his tone was calm, his gaze at the clown was filled with caution and vigilance. There was no choice, after all, this was Hisoka, known as the Toilet Victory. Hunter's 3 beauties. And pervert. Fear of Hisoka was inevitable unless the opponent was overwhelmingly powerful. Of course, fear didn't mean defeat or retreat, otherwise, Ethan wouldn't have come to take the Hunter exam. In terms of sheer strength, Hisoka was at least a first-class nin user, but a nin battle wasn't solely determined by raw power. It also involved strategy, ability restraint, and other factors. Not to mention that Lisa was there to assist him, even in a one-on-one scenario. If Hisoka sought trouble, Ethan wouldn't back down. If you can't accept it, then fight. It's not going to hurt you seriously, and it's easy to survive. He had managed to transform from a weakling to his current state, even without the golden finger, thanks to his unwavering determination and refusal to retreat. The pedal incident was just a minor episode. Soon, a bell rang in the tunnel, and at the opposite end, HxH, the examiner for the first test, appeared calmly. Is it finally starting? I'm almost tired of waiting. Upon seeing HxH, Ethan slowly stood up from his casual cross-legged position. Lisa, beside him, also stood up with a relaxed expression. Both were dressed similarly, in black combat uniforms highly suitable for action and combat, along with military combat boots reinforced with iron leather. In 5 years, Ethan's physical age had reached 18. The intense training not only allowed him to develop well, reaching a height of nearly 1.85 meters, but also granted him a robust and tall physique. Combined with his neat short hair and a handsome face that could compete for Hunter's 3 beauties, he appeared even more striking and masculine. As for Lisa, she was equally eye-catching. With beautiful emerald eyes, a delicate and lovely face, golden hair tied with a green hairband, and a slim-fitting black combat uniform, she exuded both feminine allure and soldierly competence, making the description heroic highly fitting. The movements of Ethan and Lisa did not attract undue attention, as HxH's appearance immediately captured the candidate's focus. Apologies for the wait. My name is HxH, and I am the examiner for the first test. The registration time for this Hunter exam has officially ended. If you wish to withdraw, you can leave via the elevator you arrived in. The first test is at 405. HxH, clad in a gentlemanly suit, surveyed the assembled candidates. After some introductory remarks, he began to check if any candidates wished to withdraw. Naturally, no one quit. Well, that's not entirely true, as the candidate whose arms were disabled by Hisoka had lost the right to continue and was excluded from the candidate list by HxH. Chapter 3, There are 405 people. It seems that my arrival did not cause much of a butterfly effect in this exam. Hearing HxH's words, Ethan Wells' eyes flickered. If he remembered correctly, the original plot indicated there were 404 candidates, excluding the one whose arms were disabled by Hisoka. Now there are 405, meaning his presence added one more to the count. Although he had no intention of taking advantage of the plot, the fewer changes there were in the storyline, the more beneficial it would be for him. Then please follow me now. After confirming the number of people, HxH turned around and started moving toward the tunnel revealed by the rising wall behind him in a peculiar posture. Observing this, the candidates hurriedly followed. It's starting, let's go. Lisa showed great interest in the Hunter exam. Seeing the team start moving, she was ready to follow like the other candidates. Wait, follow me first. I have something to take care of. I'll join you after I finish. Ethan grabbed Lisa's arm and told her. Lisa was startled for a moment, then glanced warily at the other candidates and lowered her voice, saying, Is it dangerous? Do you need me to stay with you? The two had known each other for more than 3 years, and their relationship was quite close. They had developed a high level of understanding through countless battles. She didn't ask Ethan what he needed to handle, directly expressing her willingness to face any danger together. Ethan gently touched her face and smiled. You're too nervous. Don't worry. It's just a small matter, and there's no danger. All right. Okay, then take care of yourself. If there's any problem, let me know, and I'll come as soon as possible. Yes, go ahead. I'll catch up soon. After their brief exchange, Lisa quickly ran to catch up with the team that had moved some distance ahead, while Ethan stood quietly in place until the candidates disappeared into the tunnel's darkness. Time to accept the rewards. At the tunnel's entrance, Ethan had carefully observed it when he arrived and noted there was no surveillance. Once he was alone, he focused his consciousness on the storage space again. With a thought, the dragon elephant body tempering pill was immediately taken out, appearing in Ethan's right hand out of thin air. He stayed behind to accept the remaining 2 rewards, converting them into strength as soon as possible out of caution. First, he held the dragon elephant body tempering pill under his nose and sniffed it. After confirming there was no peculiar smell, he didn't hesitate and swallowed the pill. Boom. As soon as the elixir entered his mouth, it melted down his throat and into his abdomen. The effect of the elixir was beyond Ethan's expectations. Almost instantly, a surging warm current emerged from his abdomen and swept through his limbs. His expression changed slightly as Ethan immediately felt the changes in his body. Not only were his muscles contracting rapidly, but his muscles, bones, and even internal organs seemed to be nourished by immense energy, undergoing transformation. Had Ethan not already trained his body to be extremely strong, the dragon elephant body tempering pill would have caused drastic physical changes. Of course, even if his appearance didn't change, internal changes were significant. For instance, Ethan's weight increased. This change was entirely due to the increase in muscle strength, resulting in weight gain with the same physique. However, this weight gain didn't affect his body's flexibility. Instead, it enhanced his explosive power due to the increase in muscle strength. His muscles and bones were becoming stronger and harder. Amid these bodily transformations, a majestic power continued to emerge from within. The transformation process was not painful but rather comfortable, like soaking a tired body in a warm hot spring. Moreover, no dirt or impurities were expelled from his pores. Everything proceeded smoothly, delicately, and silently. In less than a minute, the warm current finally dissipated, and Ethan had fully absorbed all the medicinal properties of the dragon elephant body tempering pill. Such power! Ethan marveled at the changes in his body. He could clearly feel that his physical fitness had more than doubled. He raised his hand and made a fist. The overwhelming sensation of power compelled Ethan to unleash a whip fist toward one side. Bang! The punch exploded, and the force whipped up a gust of wind, striking the tunnel wall not far away, dislodging dust and powder, and even creating small cracks. Just one pill actually increased my strength this much. Even with the system's introduction, Ethan couldn't help but be amazed by the dragon elephant body tempering pill's effects when experiencing them firsthand. His original strength was close to 5 tons, and with the massive power increase from the pill, his total strength approached 20 tons. Nearly 20 tons of power concentrated in the human body is immensely powerful. Ethan's casual punch generated more force than he had ever achieved with full effort. He also noticed that the mental energy overflowing from his aura nodes had increased significantly, making the 10 he maintained at all times more powerful. 10 is the most basic application of Nen for a Nen user. Humans, other creatures, and even plants emit weak life energy continuously. As a Nen user, besides opening all of one's aura nodes, controlling the overflowing life energy or Nen energy is essential. This is the role of 10. It not only inhibits the loss of life energy but also circulates the locked Nen energy to nourish the body, strengthening it. Moreover, 10 is the most basic self-protection for a Nen user. Nen is the most potent weapon for a Nen user. For a competent Nen user, maintaining a state of 10 at all times, whether eating or sleeping, is a fundamental skill. This practice ensures protection in case of battles or emergencies that might arise at any moment. Ethan is naturally a qualified Nen user, and 10 has become an instinctive ability, so the improvement in Nen energy was instantly apparent to him. Chapter 4. Has the increase in physical strength led to the growth of life energy in the cells? A glint flashed in Ethan Wells' eyes. Mind energy is divided into potential energy and manifest energy, corresponding to the development of cellular life energy and the instantaneous burst of active thoughts. Although he was not actively emitting thought energy now, the significant increase in life energy within his cells caused more life energy, thought energy, to passively overflow from his aura nodes. Similarly, the potential energy volume increased even more significantly. Even if the degree of development of life energy in cells remains unchanged, as the base, life energy, increases, the amount of thought energy that can be extracted will naturally increase. Ethan was naturally very satisfied with the increase in his Nen. If trees symbolize the elderly, then the body is the trunk, and the thoughts are the branches. The more luxuriant the branches, the better the growth status of the tree. Being a Nen user is the most intuitive state of strength growth. Particularly for Ethan, an enhancer Nen, his physical strength and mental power are his strengths. With such an increase in physical fitness and mental power, even if my current strength isn't at the level of a first-rate Nen user, it's very close. Clenching his fist, the surging force squeezed the air to form an airflow that erupted and dispersed. Ethan's heart was filled with surprise and excitement. The so-called first-rate Nen user is a set of strength levels he formulated through his understanding of the original work and years of fighting Nen and collecting intelligence. This level is based on the intuitive strength of the user, without considering factors like resourcefulness or ability to overcome uncertainties. From weak to strong, there are 5 levels: third-rate, second-rate, first-rate, top-level, and world-class. Third-rate Nen user, the level of individuals like Jido and Sadaso from Sky Arena. Nen users at this level have developed Nen, but their understanding and application of Nen are still superficial. They are the lowest level of Nen users. Second-rate Nen user, comparable to the Shadow Beasts level. This level includes those who have not only developed Nen but also have considerable experience with it. They are considered masters among ordinary Nen users. First-rate Nen user, the level of Yavojin, Nobunaga, Fin, etc. In the Phantom Troop, individuals at this level are masters among masters, representing the ultimate level that ordinary capable people can achieve. Top-level non-users: Kralolia Silver, Silva Zoltik, Zeno Zoltik. The strength at this level surpasses ordinary warriors and is on the path to becoming monstrous. World-class non-users, equivalent to a monster player like Isaac Nitero, a formidable individual standing at the pinnacle of humanity. As for the Ant King, it has transcended human categories and is a foul player, so Ethan has temporarily ignored him. Before taking the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, Ethan assessed his strength as second-rate non. This was not a random assessment, it was established through numerous battles. At the same time, don't underestimate the second-rate non-user because the Shadow Beasts are used as an example. To be precise, the Shadow Beasts are not weak at all. As the strongest armed force in the hands of the 10 old men, the Shadow Beasts are definitely elite selected from non-users. The Shadow Beasts appear weak in the plot entirely because they are fighting against the Phantom Troop, and in their prolonged period of comfort and adulation, they lost even basic caution, leading to conceit. With this kind of mindset, even facing equally strong opponents, their defeat rate is extremely high. Back to the topic. The substantial increase in physical strength and mental energy is definitely the most significant improvement for Ethan, an enhancer non-user, bringing his strength very close to that of a first-rate non-user. Of course, despite his surprise, Ethan didn't get lost in the sudden increase in power. He simply enjoyed the feeling of this newfound strength. In just a short time, he quickly adjusted his emotions and regained his calm. Next is the Thread Fruit. He used his consciousness to retrieve the Thread Fruit from the storage space. After staring at it for a second, Ethan raised the Devil Fruit and bit into it without expression. Although the taste of Devil Fruit is rumored to be quite unpleasant, the prospect of its power far outweighed any aversion to its taste. Biting off a piece of fruit pulp, just as Ethan was about to give up chewing and swallow it directly, the juice of the fruit pulp spread from the tip of his tongue. But the strange taste he expected did not appear. Instead, a very delicious flavor spread, which slightly surprised him. Chewing quickly, as the pulp was chewed, the delicious taste immediately increased to another level, making Ethan a little incredulous. Wait, is this also a change after removing the effects? Even the taste has undergone an extreme change? If it weren't for the prior proof of the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, the delicious taste in his mouth would make Ethan unable to believe he was eating a devil fruit. But after the initial surprise, he quickly realized. The strange taste is likely a flaw, so why can't the perfect form include an improved taste? With this thought, Ethan felt at ease. Originally, he planned to take one bite and discard the rest of the fruit, as devil fruit abilities can be gained after just one bite. But because of the improved taste, he decided to eat the entire devil fruit. After consuming a devil fruit, the user will immediately know the basic information of the devil fruit, such as its name and abilities. After eating the entire devil fruit, Ethan felt a sense of understanding as he examined his right hand. A thread that was difficult to see with the naked eye grew from the tips of all 5 fingers. Ethan narrowed his eyes slightly and swung his hand toward one side of the wall. A terrible tearing sound echoed, and the threads from his fingertips flew out and struck the wall hard. They were so sharp that they immediately cut 5 long, narrow, and deep cracks. Such cutting power, if applied to a human body, would certainly be enough to slice someone into several pieces. Chapter 5. It doesn't seem difficult to master this ability. As long as you have sufficient control and physical strength, you can extend silk threads that are tough and sharp enough. After cutting the wall, the extending thread disappeared from Ethan Wells' mind. After a small test, Ethan murmured to himself. Perhaps due to the system's improvements, or because he had a good compatibility with the thread fruit, Ethan felt no difficulty or obscurity in using this ability. It felt as natural as moving his fingers. Of course, Ethan's current mastery of the thread fruit ability was only preliminary, further development was needed to tap its full potential. Ethan also recalled Doflamingo's figure, as the other party's development of the thread fruit was a good reference for him. It's not too late to study development issues later. It's better to catch up with the team now, so as not to worry Lisa. After collecting his scattered thoughts, Ethan looked towards the tunnel where even the sound of footsteps could no longer be heard. He smiled slightly, leaned forward, and after a brief bend of his legs, burst out with amazing explosive power. Amidst the sound of breaking through the air, Ethan's figure was like a vigorous cheetah, disappearing into the entrance area of the tunnel in an instant. The process of accepting rewards didn't take long, less than 5 minutes in total. Additionally, Satatsu's speed was still gradually increasing, so when Ethan set off, the candidate team had only run a few kilometers. During the rapid run, the super speed made the air roar continuously in his ears. With Ethan's current physique, even when not running at full speed and moving along the tunnel, he saw the candidates in less than a moment. Aren't there any candidates left behind yet? But that's right. After all, those who reach the examination room are at least elites among ordinary people. It has just begun, so naturally, there is no shameful situation like falling behind. As the candidate team appeared in his field of vision, Ethan slowed down and no longer sprinted but caught up with the candidate team at a leisurely speed, intending to find Lisa and join them. As if they heard the footsteps coming from behind, some candidates running at the end of the queue subconsciously turned their heads and glanced back. There is actually someone behind. Didn't this guy follow the team before? He doesn't look fatigued. It seems he's not catching up after falling behind. It's a new face. This guy should be taking the hunter exam for the first time. Looking at Ethan catching up from behind, the candidates had their own thoughts, but most quickly retracted their gaze and focused on the exam. As Ethan caught up, HxH had already explained that the first test would now begin. Smart people understood that the first test was likely to assess physical strength. Without knowing how far the destination was, they naturally wouldn't waste excess energy. However, some people's eyes flickered after noticing Ethan, then they changed their positions and blocked his path. Ethan naturally noticed this situation with keen awareness, but his expression remained unchanged. He maintained a calm demeanor and continued to approach along the forward route. "Hey! Get down!" Just as Ethan was approaching the three candidates blocking his path, they suddenly turned around and attacked him with unruly and ferocious expressions. One candidate aimed a punch at Ethan's face, another squatted down and tried to sweep Ethan's legs, and the third candidate kicked at Ethan's chest. It was clear that these three candidates were working together to eliminate Ethan. For many candidates, the hunter exam not only involved passing the examiner's test but also competing against other candidates. Since HxH didn't prohibit attacking other candidates during the exam, naturally, many candidates attempted to eliminate others to increase their chances of passing. Boring behavior. 3 attacks came in unison, blocking his upper, middle, and lower paths, but Ethan only felt boredom. To him, they were too weak. His hands moved like lightning. His right hand grabbed the fist aimed at his face, and his left hand caught a leg kicking toward his chest. With a simple twist, there was a sickening sound of bones cracking. The candidate attacking from above had his right arm twisted and broken by the overwhelming force. The same was true for the candidate attacking from the middle. Ethan casually crushed the assailant's calf. As for the candidate attacking from below, Ethan didn't even dodge. When the opponent's leg swept across Ethan's legs, it felt like kicking steel, resulting in the opponent's leg breaking from the impact. 3 shrill screams erupted almost simultaneously, attracting many candidates who quickly turned to look. Ignoring the candidate whose right leg was broken, Ethan tossed the 2 candidates he held aside like throwing away trash. Thud. Thud. A dull crash echoed in the tunnel. The 2 candidates seemed to have been hit by a high-speed car. Not only were they flung into the tunnel walls, but they also caused spiderweb-like cracks on the solid walls. The violent impact shattered most of their bones, and the severe pain made them roll their eyes and faint. Are you kidding? What kind of power is this? He can throw 2 people and crack the wall? Damn it, is this guy a beast in human skin? How can he have such exaggerated power? This man is definitely dangerous, we must stay away. Seeing Ethan throw away 2 candidates, many candidates looked back with wide eyes, including Kurapika, Leorio, and Gon. Chapter 6, The reactions of Kurapika and Leorio were the most intense among the candidates. Leorio was purely horrified. He looked at Ethan Wills as if he had seen a monster and turned around in a cold sweat. Kurapika was shocked but eager. Bearing the hatred of genocide, he desperately desired to gain powerful strength to avenge the Phantom Troop. As for Gon, although he was quite surprised, he quickly returned his attention to the exam without dwelling too much on it. Most of the candidates had the same reaction as Leorio. They were shocked by Ethan's power and quickly turned away, as if afraid that watching him for too long would make them his next target. Of course, some candidates looked at Ethan with interest. For example, a certain white-haired boy. It seems that the hunter exam is quite exciting, but this is what makes it fun. Kill whistled softly. He had initially thought the hunter exam wasn't challenging enough, but now he turned around and continued moving forward on his skateboard with a relaxed look on his face. Obviously, he hadn't yet met his best friend. The strength has increased too much all at once. It really takes some getting used to. After dealing with the 3 candidates who had caused trouble, Ethan continued catching up with the team while reflecting on his newfound strength. With a sudden increase in power, it was inevitable that control would be less precise. Ethan had intended just to throw the 2 candidates aside, but due to uncertainty about his strength, he used too much force, resulting in a scene that shocked the candidates. This was not his intention. Ethan could clearly feel the glances directed at him. He initially ignored them, but one particular gaze caught his attention. He keenly followed it and locked eyes with the onlooker. It seems like I found a good fruit, but I don't know if it's delicious or rotten inside. The corner of his mouth curled into a strange arc, and his handsome face bore a trace of a perverted and evil smile. Hisoka took a deep look at Ethan, who was staring at him, and smiled excitedly in his heart, though his face showed a nonchalant expression as if nothing had happened. Is this pervert targeting me? Although Hisoka turned away, Ethan frowned, feeling a bit uneasy. Based on his understanding of Hisoka, the look and smile on his face just now were very ominous signs. A moment of carelessness might have frightened the other candidates, but attracting Hisoka's attention would undoubtedly be troublesome. However, Ethan's frown soon relaxed as he reasoned it out. If Hisoka was indeed targeting him now, then unless he opted out of the exam, Hisoka would still target him sooner or later as he displayed his strength in the exam. Since it was unavoidable, Ethan decided to remain unchanged and simply increase his vigilance against Hisoka. How's it going? Is the matter settled? Putting aside thoughts of Hisoka, Ethan quickened his pace and entered the team. As many candidates made way, he quickly found Lisa, who was running at the front. When he got closer, Lisa, having noticed him long ago, leaned in and asked quietly. Yes, it's been resolved. I'll tell you the details when we have some free time. Ethan replied in a low voice. Lisa nodded slightly and then concentrated on the exam. Ethan did the same. In addition to consciously guarding against Hisoka, he focused on the exam. Continuously running forward in the closed tunnel with no visible endpoint, candidates gradually began to fall as time passed. Some due to lack of physical strength, others due to weak will. But this is the purpose of the hunter exam, to eliminate the grains of sand and find the real gold. There's light, the exit is ahead. Finally, I see the exit. Damn it, just a little closer, I have to hold on. The difficulty of the last section of the tunnel suddenly increased, turning into a sloping upward staircase. During this stretch, more candidates collapsed from exhaustion or lack of will. However, those who persevered soon saw the light of day. As they climbed the stairs, they saw the bright exit. The candidates who persisted immediately became energized. Those whose physical strength was nearing the limit were overjoyed and gritted their teeth, unwilling to fall at the last moment. Ethan and Lisa were among these candidates. As the exit came into view, two small figures sprinted past them at lightning speed. What's the story with those two kids? They have such incredible stamina. Lisa remarked, surprised by the two small figures. The black-haired kid is Gon Freaks, son of the two-star hunter Jing Freaks. Ethan explained calmly. The white-haired kid is Kilwa Zoltik, the third son of the Zoltik family. Hunter Jing Freaks. Zoltik family? Lisa was shocked, her surprise obvious. But that was a normal reaction. Although it was the first time for Lisa and Ethan to take the hunter exam, they had been active as amateur hunters before. Anyone with some knowledge had heard of Hunter Jing Freaks and the Zoltik family, so Lisa's reaction was understandable. I didn't expect these two kids to have such impressive backgrounds. No wonder they're taking the hunter exam at such a young age. Lisa exclaimed. Ethan smiled slightly. Not only did these two have extraordinary backgrounds, but their talents were also exceptional. Even with ordinary backgrounds, their talents would ensure they achieved great fame sooner or later. Gon and Kilwa were obviously just like in the original plot, not only hitting it off instantly but also competing in a long-distance race in the tunnel to see who could reach the finish line first. Of course, Ethan wasn't overly concerned with their competition. Otherwise, he might have found an opportunity to get acquainted. In essence, the plots and characters he knew from his previous life were just references for Ethan. He wouldn't deliberately follow them, nor would he take any action to ingratiate himself. He would simply let things unfold naturally. Chapter 7, the first half of the initial exam ended successfully. After emerging from the tunnel, the candidates were greeted by thick fog and an endless expanse of lush forests. This is a wetland forest? Lisa remarked with curiosity. In the open space in front of the exit, Ethan Wells and Lisa stood, resting like the other candidates who had passed. Lisa, breathing a little heavily, looked at the scene before her with interest. Although her strength reached the level of a second-rate nin user, similar to Ethan, she was not an enhancer nin, meaning her physical training wasn't as intense, leaving her somewhat physically weaker than Ethan. Despite this, compared to other candidates, aside from a few like Hisoka, she was still among the top. Yet, after running nearly 100 kilometers, the physical exertion was substantial. Yeah. It seems so. Ethan replied, pulling his distracted attention back to the present. It wasn't that he was unfocused or physically exhausted, his attention had just been drawn to the system. As he exited the tunnel, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding dong. You have triggered the branch achievement, Shadow Examiner. You need to eliminate 50 candidates before the end of the first exam, 0 out of 50. Lisa didn't notice anything unusual about Ethan and continued observing the wetland forest with interest, while Ethan focused on the system prompt once more. So, this is how the branch achievement is triggered. Ethan had initially thought these achievements would be difficult to trigger, but they appeared sooner than expected. The content of the branch achievement, Shadow Examiner, was clear: eliminate 50 candidates before the first exam concluded. There were no penalties for the achievements released by the system. Completing them earned rewards, but failing or choosing not to attempt them resulted in no rewards, allowing Ethan to act freely according to his wishes. Ethan was not opposed to the Shadow Examiner task. He wasn't naive, rather, the past 5 years had cultivated a survival of the fittest mentality in him. The Hunter exam wasn't a harmonious and friendly game. Those who took the exam each year were considered lucky even if they merely survived, let alone passed. Eliminating other candidates in the exam to gain rewards didn't weigh on Ethan's conscience. Besides, it was just about elimination, not killing, which made it even simpler. Ethan casually glanced at the candidates' situation. Although many were eliminated in the first half of the exam, those who made it here were all elites, so over 200 candidates remained. This wetland forest is shrouded in thick fog. Eliminating 50 candidates shouldn't be too difficult, Ethan thought to himself. Most importantly, among the candidates, only 2 posed a real threat to him, Hisoka and Illumi, disguised as Gitracker. Whether it was Henzo or Killua, even before the system came online, he was confident in dealing with them. The fog seems to be dissipating gradually. One candidate exclaimed happily. Initially, the thick fog in the wetland forest had even covered the tunnel exit, but while the candidates rested, much of the fog dissipated. Of course, the forest still contained thick fog, obscuring specific details within. Meanwhile, a door lowered at the tunnel exit, blocking candidates struggling to emerge, marking the end of the first half of the exam. The Shima wetland, commonly known as the Trickster's Lair, is the only way to the second exam venue. Most of the strange creatures unique to this wetland are cunning foragers that can deceive even humans. As Satats, the examiner, explained the wetland situation to the candidates, an angry shout erupted from the wall beside the tunnel exit. Don't be deceived, don't be fooled by him, this man is lying. He's not the examiner, he's a fake. I'm the real examiner. The sudden outcry made candidates turn around to see a disheveled young man emerging from the wall, pointing at Satats and shouting. Moreover, the young man pulled a nape with a human face from behind, its face bearing a striking resemblance to Satats. What's going on? Why does this monkey look so similar to the examiner? Damn it, could this guy really be a fake? What is the truth here? Which one is the real examiner? While the candidates were initially skeptical, the appearance of the ape resembling Satats caused doubt, prompting many to look at Satats warily. For Ethan and Lisa, however, one remained calm and the other intrigued. So, this is the deceiver's lair? Their language and disguise abilities are quite impressive. Lisa remarked. The human-faced ape's deceptive abilities might work on ordinary people, but they seemed ludicrous against those with none abilities. At Satats' level, his body naturally maintained a 10 aura, while the young man disguised as a human-faced ape emitted only weak life energy. Lisa didn't even need to think, she could easily discern which side was genuine just by sensing the aura. Just as many candidates were swayed by the young man's deception and began showing hostility towards Satats, playing cards suddenly shot out at high speed, leaving after images. 3 playing cards struck the young man disguised as a human-faced ape, penetrating and killing him instantly. 3 more playing cards targeted Satats, but he reacted quickly, catching them with both hands. In addition to these 6 cards, 3 others flew through the gaps between candidates, clearly aimed at Ethan. Chapter 8, 5-Colored Thread. Ethan Wells reacted with equal speed, displaying impressive control over the recently acquired thread abilities. As the 3 playing cards flew toward him, his eyes focused, and his right hand transformed into a claw, grasping the cards in midair. TSK TSK TSK. The silk threads extending from his fingertips were not only sharp but also infused with mind energy. When these sharp threads collided with the playing cards, which were also wrapped with mind energy, the confrontation was brief, and the 3 cards were quickly shredded. The silk thread sliced them into pieces, leaving them to flutter to the ground. Da. Boom. Suddenly, rapid gunfire erupted. It was Lisa, standing next to Ethan, who counterattacked decisively. She raised her hands, and out of thin air, black and white pistols, resembling desert eagles, appeared in her grip. The black pistol fired dozens of telekinetic bullets per second like a submachine gun. Although the white pistol only fired a single shot, the telekinetic energy of that bullet was far more intense than those from the black pistol. Lisa's target was the owner of the playing cards, Hisoka. Hisoka, with both hands, magically conjured 2 more playing cards. His eyes shifted from Ethan to the incoming bullets with the dexterity of a knife's edge. His body moved fluidly as he blocked the approaching bullets with his aura-wrapped cards. However, this resistance only worked against the regular bullets from Lisa's black pistol. When the white bullet, mixed among the others, struck the playing cards, Hisoka's expression changed slightly. He quickly withdrew his hand, discarding the cards. Bang! The playing cards, wrapped with mental energy, couldn't withstand the force of the white gun's mental bullet and shattered into pieces, but the projectile continued forward, still powerful. Thanks to Hisoka's quick reflexes, he dodged the powerful projectile, avoiding any real harm. At that moment, Ethan, having shredded the playing cards, seamlessly followed up on Lisa's attack. Lower the rogue line. Ethan's figure disappeared momentarily, reappearing midair. His eyes were cold as they locked on to Hisoka, who had just dodged the bullet. Once again, the 5 fingers of his right hand extended threads, nearly invisible to the naked eye, forming a shape similar to a leaf rake. He fiercely grabbed downward from the air. TSK TSK TSK. The sharp threads extended above Hisoka. As Ethan pulled them, they descended rapidly, aiming to strike Hisoka with alarming speed. Hisoka's keen senses discerned the attack from above. Leaving an imprint on the grass, he quickly leaped back to evade. The sharp threads pierced the ground where Hisoka had been, slicing 5 narrow, deep cuts into the earth. Stop it. If you insist on continuing to fight, then I can only judge that you are both eliminated for disrupting the order of the exam. From the moment Hisoka attacked Ethan with playing cards to Ethan and Lisa's swift counterattack, it all happened in a mere instant. As Ethan's counterattack was evaded by Hisoka, Satatsu's voice suddenly intervened. The threads extending from Ethan's fingertips vanished as he landed back on the ground. He glared coldly at Hisoka, who had jumped back a short distance. Lisa stood close to Ethan, forming a collaborative fighting stance, her black and white pistols still ready, as they both maintained a vigilant watch on Hisoka. On the other side, Hisoka, having stabilized himself after landing, refrained from throwing the newly conjured playing cards. What's going on? Why did a fight suddenly break out? The altercation was so abrupt that most candidates hadn't even had time to react. Following Satatsu's voice, the candidates finally realized what had happened and quickly dispersed, clearing the area for the confrontation. The candidates either looked at the two sides of the confrontation in surprise or fear. I'll be eliminated. I don't want to take another exam. It seems I can only stop here. Hisoka's excitement subsided as he glanced at Satatsu, who watched him with a steady gaze. With a chuckle, Hisoka turned his attention back to Ethan and Lisa. Although he ceased his actions, his eyes, when resting on Ethan and Lisa, remained fervent and malevolent, as if he was eyeing a delectable fruit he longed to taste. We were merely reacting in self-defense. It was Mr. Hisoka who disrupted the order of the exam. Ethan stated calmly, showing no trace of anger. With this demeanor, the scent becomes even more tempting. Though Ethan appeared calm, as a seasoned fruit aficionado, Hisoka perceived the calm before a storm in Ethan's demeanor, which only fueled his inner excitement, his smile growing eerier. He struggled to contain his excitement. The more tempting the fruit, the more careful the tasting must be. Now was not the time, he needed to wait a little longer. Satatsu turned his attention to Ethan, nodding. It's understandable to defend oneself, but the order of the exam must not be disrupted. That is the rule of the hunter exam. To obtain a hunter license, one cannot disrupt the order of the hunter exam. With Satatsu's intervention, the conflict was temporarily quelled. However, both Ethan and Hisoka understood that a real battle between them was inevitable. Hisoka saw Ethan as a delectable fruit, but Ethan was not one to refrain from retaliating when provoked. From the moment Hisoka attacked, a confrontation between them was bound to happen. As the conflict subsided, Ethan shifted his gaze away from Hisoka. It was as if the skirmish had never occurred. He folded his arms and turned his attention toward the distant wetland forest. Lisa, beside him, glanced warily at Hisoka before allowing the black and white pistols in her hands to vanish. Huh? They're gone? Where did that woman's guns go? What's going on? Can she do magic and make her guns disappear? As the examiner's intervention calmed the conflict, the candidates who had distanced themselves began to return. Yet, their eyes continued to flick between Ethan, Lisa, and Hisoka, remaining vigilant to avoid getting caught in another skirmish. Under such scrutiny, the sudden disappearance of Lisa's pistols naturally caught the candidates' attention, leaving them shocked and intrigued. Chapter 9. Most of the candidates assumed that Lisa had used some special means to hide her twin guns, but Kurapika thought otherwise. Something's not right. There are such distinctive cutting marks. Candidate number 99 did launch some kind of counterattack against Hisoka just now. And then there's number 100. She clearly fired shots, but there were no spent shells or bullets to be seen. And the disappearance of the guns wasn't just a trick. They're truly gone. Kurapika alternated between examining the cutting marks left by Ethan's counterattack against Hisoka and looking at the ground near Lisa's feet, filled with surprise and intrigue. Although Ethan's addition only increased the number of candidates by 1, it altered the number plates significantly. For instance, Lisa's number plate was no longer 371, as in the original story, but rather number 100. As for number 99, that belonged to Ethan. The abilities of the thread fruit, nearly invisible to the naked eye, and the Nyan bullet attacks were difficult for Kurapika to comprehend. He felt as if Ethan, Lisa, and Hisoka were enveloped in a thick fog, obscuring their true capabilities. Simultaneously, a strong instinct urged him on, suggesting that if he could unravel the mystery surrounding these three, he might find what he sought. Surprise and an inexplicable longing left Kurapika's mind muddled until Leorio nudged him back to reality when the exam resumed. Why are you spacing out? The exam started again. We need to catch up quickly. Leorio's urgent voice reached his ears, snapping Kurapika back to focus. He suppressed his emotions and hurriedly followed the candidate group with Leorio. In a fog-laden forest, the dense mist impaired visibility, and the wet ground increased physical exertion. For candidates who had just endured a long-distance run, this made matters worse. Not long after entering the forest, some candidates began to lag behind, struggling. Ethan, what happened with Hisoka? Why did he suddenly focus on you? Lisa asked, as they deliberately fell behind the main group, staying alert to their surroundings. When the conflict had erupted earlier, although she had activated her nun to aid Ethan without hesitation, she remained perplexed by Hisoka's sudden aggression. You could say he's like a fruit farmer. When he sees a delicious fruit, he wants to taste it, so he probably thinks I'm a good fruit. Ethan explained succinctly. Lisa frowned, understanding Ethan's analogy. People like Hisoka weren't unique in this world, others exhibited similar behaviors. It seems he's trouble we can't avoid. For the next exam, we should stick together as much as possible. Ethan nodded slightly. Trouble is certain, and he might target you too. Your suggestion is wise. We should try to act together. Staying together wasn't because Ethan feared Hisoka, rather, it was the prudent choice. With an ally, Ethan wouldn't foolishly engage Hisoka in a one-on-one confrontation. Additionally, it ensured Lisa's safety, which he prioritized. Ethan didn't trust Hisoka, recalling how, in the original story, Hisoka had reacted violently to losing to Krallo, turning his anger on Shunrik and Kubai before they could recover their nin. Ethan wasn't worried for himself but had to consider Lisa's safety. Otherwise, even if he eventually defeated Hisoka, losing Lisa would be a significant blow. Lisa, I plan to eliminate some candidates next. After discussing the Hisoka issue, Ethan brought up his next objective. Since they needed to act together, he wanted to communicate openly with Lisa. Eliminate candidates? Lisa, who was running alongside Ethan, turned her head, puzzled. Yes, you could say I've developed a new nin ability similar to a game. By completing certain tasks, I can earn special items as rewards. Ethan explained. Although they shared a close relationship, Ethan wouldn't reveal the system's existence. It was his ultimate secret weapon. But to ensure Lisa understood, he explained it in another way. There were countless strange nin abilities, and the system's nature could be understood as a powerful nin. Hearing Ethan's explanation, Lisa was shocked and paused in her tracks. Ethan also halted when he noticed this. Are you serious? You've developed a second type of nin? Lisa asked, her face showing surprise. Double nin users were rare, so naturally, Lisa was taken aback by Ethan's explanation. That's about right. Don't stand still too long, or we'll fall behind, making it harder to pursue our targets. Ethan nodded and resumed running, chasing after the candidates ahead. Lisa quickly followed, drawing closer to Ethan as she continued. So, eliminating other candidates is a task from your second nin, and completing it grants you rewards through this new ability? Exactly. And the attack you used against Hisoka earlier, was that also from your second nin? Yes, the reason I lingered at the start of the exam was because my second nin awakened, granting me that attack power. Also, didn't you notice that my 10 has become much stronger? Huh? You've really grown stronger. Didn't you use Ren? Lisa hadn't noticed earlier, but now, upon closer inspection, she realized Ethan's aura had thickened significantly. As for Ren, it's a basic application of Nana technique to actively release more aura from the aura nodes. Chapter 10, of course not. The reason my entangled mind energy has strengthened is entirely because I received a reward that greatly enhances my physical strength, which in turn improved my mind energy. Ethan Wells said somewhat exasperatedly. Practice can indeed release more mind energy, but it also sharply increases consumption. Unless for fighting or training, no wise person would use practice constantly. Is there a reward for strengthening your body? Is your second nin really that strong? Lisa was shocked again, looking at Ethan in disbelief. Ahem. Let's just say it's significant. Ethan replied modestly, then turned serious. Okay, I'll explain the details later. For now, we should focus on completing the task quickly. Let's not forget Hisoka is still a threat. If we can improve our strength before another confrontation, our chances of winning will be even greater. Lisa suddenly became enthusiastic. I almost forgot until you mentioned it. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. Lisa clearly had a strong sense of urgency. Once she realized the situation, she became even more proactive than Ethan. With the cover of the thick fog, she quickly transformed into two phantoms and began their hunt. Ah! From the moment candidates entered the Shimal wetland, exclamations and screams were heard continuously. These reactions were due to attacks by creatures living in the wetland. There were mushrooms that released poisonous spores when stepped on, dinosaur-like monsters with strawberries on their backs, and hypnotic butterflies. With all these bizarre biological threats, it was impossible for candidates to pass through the Shimal wetland unscathed. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lisa were also in action. In the thick fog, nearly invisible threads shot out, quickly wrapping around the bodies of several candidates who lagged behind the main group. What is this? Several candidates fell to the ground after being entangled in the silk threads. Frightened and angry, they struggled to break free. However, the silk thread was extremely tough and sharp. Not only were they unable to break it, but the threads also cut into their flesh, causing bloody wounds and making them scream. At this moment, two figures swooped in like ghosts, quickly striking the candidates with their swords and knocking them out easily. Through the thick fog, it became clear that the two figures attacking the candidates were Ethan and Lisa. Keep going. Ethan quickly checked the progress of the mission. After confirming the increase in numbers, he signaled to Lisa and rushed off to continue the hunt. Lisa quickly followed, and the two disappeared into the fog once more. Although the system officially recognized Ethan as the host, it seemed to possess a certain level of judgment in task execution. For instance, it recognized that Lisa was acting with Ethan, so candidates eliminated by Lisa also counted toward the task, ensuring their efforts weren't in vain. The ability of the thread fruit proved even more effective in the foggy Shimal wetland. Once a candidate was spotted, Ethan's line fruit ability could easily restrain them without suspense. After that, it was a simple matter of knocking them out, and the system would count the candidate as eliminated by Ethan. Continuously moving through the forest, Ethan and Lisa kept hunting while keeping track of the main group. They targeted not only candidates who broke away but also those who stayed with the main group. As long as anyone showed weaknesses, Ethan would immediately use the thread fruit to capture and pull them away. During this process, candidates sensed the danger but had no choice but to follow Examiner Satats more closely. After all, candidates were always wary of each other, especially after the conflict between Ethan and Hisoka, which heightened their caution. Additionally, Ethan's attacks were very concealed, allowing him to complete the mission quickly and smoothly. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for completing the Shadow Examiner achievement, the reward. Less than half an hour later, Ethan used the thread fruit to pull another candidate, who was promptly knocked out by Lisa with her blade. The system notification sounded in his mind. Alright, let's catch up with the main group. What reward did you get? Upon learning the mission was completed, Ethan perked up and signaled Lisa. To be honest, the Shadow Examiner achievement task wasn't particularly difficult for him. 50 candidates might seem like a lot, but it wasn't hard to handle. Even though those taking the Hunter exam were considered elites among ordinary people, except for a few like Hisoka and Illumi, Ethan could easily deal with the rest as long as he remained discreet. Ignoring the unconscious candidate, Lisa immediately followed Ethan as he called, catching up with the group of candidates ahead. Simultaneously, Lisa approached Ethan curiously and asked in a low voice. Let me take a look. Ethan's consciousness delved into his mind to check the achievement rewards. 3 blood body, a natural treasure from another world. Consuming it can effectively increase potential energy. Ethan raised his eyebrows at the reward. The rewards from the system were truly diverse. Blood body, likely originated from the wind and cloud world. Known as a fruit that enhances one's skills. The skills in the martial arts world should be akin to mind energy in this world. Both derive from the extension of life energy. It seems reasonable that blood body can enhance mind energy. Regarding the blood body description provided by the system, Ethan found it easy to understand and was quite satisfied. Although he wasn't yet sure how much the blood body would boost his mind energy, the description promised it would be significant. Though the increase was in potential energy rather than manifest energy, which directly determines offensive and defensive power, it was still highly valuable. Chapter 11, The amount of potential chi determines endurance and using Nen to fight. In battles between closely matched opponents, potential energy can significantly influence the outcome. The current examination process wasn't suitable for accepting rewards, so Ethan Wells decided not to immediately take out and consume them after confirming his rewards. Instead, he briefly explained to Lisa and prepared to wait for the right opportunity to use them. Nevertheless, Lisa was quite amazed by what Ethan said about blood body and its effects. A fruit that can increase potential energy is undoubtedly a treasure worth fighting for in the world of Nen. The group of candidates continued onward, eventually arriving at the location of the second exam, a park built in the forest, led by HxH. At the closed entrance to the park, HxH stopped and explained, allowing the candidates who arrived first to rest and recover their energy. Meanwhile, other candidates periodically caught up. So this part of the storyline is still happening. Ethan and Lisa found a shady spot to sit. When Hisoka appeared, carrying an unconscious Leorio on his shoulders, Ethan's eyes flickered with interest. In the original plot, Hisoka had been intercepted by a group of candidates and killed them. Leorio and Kurapika happened to witness this, which led Hisoka to take an interest in Gon. From seeing Leorio brought in by Hisoka now, it was clear that the plot hadn't changed due to Ethan's presence. Indeed, just as the first exam was about to conclude, Gon and Kurapika arrived together. Whoosh! Bang! A flare gun fired into the sky. Dear candidates, you have worked hard on this journey. This Biscayne Forest Park is the venue for the second exam, so I will take my leave. I hope you all pass the exam smoothly. After the flare was fired, the candidates who had arrived at the second exam site turned their attention to HxH, who addressed them before departing. Although Ethan had eliminated 50 candidates in the latter half of the exam, the number of candidates reaching the second exam was not much different from the original plot. There were still hundreds of people. This made sense, given that most of those Ethan eliminated were already among the weakest. Without his intervention, passing through the Shima wetland would have been extremely difficult for them. In other words, many of the candidates Ethan eliminated had already been destined to fail in the original storyline. After HxH finished speaking, he walked back into the forest from which he had come. Once HxH was out of sight, the park's closed gate slowly opened. The opening revealed a garden with kitchen counters and a building leading into it. As the gate opened, the candidates quickly looked inside, their eyes drawn to the woman sitting on a sofa in front of the building and the man standing behind her. The woman on the sofa had grass-green hair styled in sky-high braids. Not only was she beautiful, but she also had an impressive figure. The man standing behind her was a very large, cheerful-looking individual. Dear candidates, welcome. I am Menchai, the examiner for the second exam. I am Examiner Buhara. Seeing the candidates gathered outside the gate, Menchai, the woman on the sofa, casually rested her arms on the back of the sofa, crossed her legs, and introduced herself with a smile. Following her introduction, Buhara, standing behind her, also introduced himself. Upon learning that these two were the examiners for the second exam, the candidates entered the garden, marking the beginning of the second exam's content. Just as in the original story, Menchai and Buhara set a test to capture a wild boar and cook it into food. It's a pity the side achievement wasn't triggered. After Menchai announced the start, the candidates rushed out. Ethan waited patiently for a moment, feeling a bit regretful after confirming that the system didn't respond. Having received 2 rewards, he was naturally focused on completing achievements. However, during the exam period, aside from the main achievement, Professor Hunter, there were no other main achievements to complete. Ethan hoped to trigger another branch achievement. However, it seemed that branch achievements weren't easily triggered. By the time Menchai announced the start of the second exam, none had been activated. Let's go. Setting aside his regret, Ethan turned and gestured to Lisa, then walked out of the park. Lisa immediately understood Ethan's intention, and with anticipation, she quickly followed. While the candidates searched the park for the wild boar, Ethan led Lisa away from the group, ensuring they were out of sight. Once alone, he retrieved the achievement reward from Shadow Examiner. Like the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill and Breadfruit, Ethan wouldn't hold on to rewards, he would convert them into strength as quickly as possible. Upon receiving them, 3 blood body crystals appeared in his storage space, which Ethan then retrieved, holding them in his hand. Is this the blood body you mentioned? Lisa asked as she leaned closer to observe the blood body in Ethan's palm. Yes, I'm giving one to you, but don't say I'm stingy. I'll take the remaining 2. If we clash with Hisoka again, I want to defeat him on my own. Ethan said, handing her one of the blood body. You're planning to face Hisoka alone? That's just like you. But this is your reward. I'm grateful for even one. Though, when Mia finds out you didn't keep such a valuable item, don't blame me if you're not allowed back in the room. Lisa sighed, then joked. Chapter 12, you can sleep in your own room if she doesn't let me in. Besides, Mia won't be that stingy. Ethan Wells shrugged. Alright, but even if that's the case, don't you still have me? Lisa chuckled, covering her mouth with a playful smile. Her beautiful face exuded even more charm as she gave Ethan a teasing wink. Don't tempt me. It's best to talk about this after the exam is over. Let's focus on the task at hand. Keep an eye on our surroundings. It'll be your turn after I consume it," Ethan said, tapping her gently on the forehead with his finger before giving instructions. "Leave it to me." Lisa knew the priorities and quickly put away her playful demeanor. After nodding, she began to cautiously scout the area. Without hesitation, Ethan tossed one of the two remaining, blood body, into his mouth. He opted not to use both at once, not out of concern, but to better gauge the effect of each, blood body. Boom. The taste was akin to ordinary fruit, but as soon as he swallowed it, the energy within, blood body, surged through his body like the dragon elephant body tempering pill, invigorating Ethan's entire being. Wherever the energy traveled, the life energy within each cell of Ethan's body increased rapidly. If the dragon elephant body tempering pill drove cell life energy through physical enhancement, then blood body directly impacted the cells, transcending the physical level. Moreover, the growth rates differed between the two. While enhancing the body could drive cell life energy growth, it was an indirect relationship, and the improvement was less compared to the body's enhancement. However, blood body differed. By directly enhancing cell life energy, it not only improved life energy but also surpassed physical enhancement. The purpose of blood body is to increase potential energy, which refers to the extent to which life energy is developed within cells, i.e. the maximum extractable amount. Cells may appear tiny but can hold vast potential. While the untrained can extract life energy from cells and convert it into nin, they can't harness its full potential. Ordinary non-users may not even develop 10% of their cell's life energy. For example, if a cell's life energy is 100 units and developed by 10%, the extractable potential energy is 10 units. But if the cell's life energy is 200 units, then with the same 10% development, the extractable potential energy is 20 units, double the former. Therefore, non-users have two ways to increase potential chi, by enhancing cell development or by increasing the life energy base within cells. Like the dragon elephant body tempering pill, the cell's life energy base is enhanced through physical strength, thereby increasing potential energy. The same applies to blood body. And because it directly enhances cell life energy, even without physical strengthening, the life energy improvement is substantial. Within about a minute, the energy within the blood body was fully assimilated. My potential energy has increased by more than half. Once it was over, Ethan carefully sensed the increased potential energy, a spark lighting in his eyes. Though he didn't possess net to measure telekinesis like Nakalu, similar non-users exist in this world. Some even specialize in evaluating telekinesis for others, earning rewards. To better understand his own level of nin, Ethan had sought such people to assess his nin. Based on the most recent evaluation, prior to using the dragon elephant body tempering pill, his potential chi was about 15,000 units. This potential energy was considered medium among the second-rate talents Ethan had encountered. After using the dragon elephant body tempering pill, there hadn't been a professional evaluation, but based on growth, it was roughly estimated at 18,000 units. After all, the dragon elephant body tempering pill primarily enhances the body. Even if it increases cell life energy, it doesn't match physical enhancement. Now, the effect of blood body exceeded Ethan's expectations, directly increasing his potential energy by more than half. In other words, Ethan's current potential chi is roughly estimated to be 28,000 units, implying a blood body increased his chi by approximately 10,000 units. While this improvement doesn't enhance overall strength as much as the dragon elephant body tempering pill, the mental energy boost is remarkable, pleasantly surprising Ethan. Indeed, only when the time traveler's golden finger activates does one become a truly qualified time traveler. After striving for so many years, I finally no longer feel I let down the countless fellow time travelers. Ethan mused inwardly. After a brief self-reflection, Ethan consumed the remaining blood body, feeling the rapid surge in potential energy once more. Using them consecutively showed no resistance. Like before, after the second blood body, Ethan's mental energy increased by about 10,000 units, bringing his potential energy to 38,000 units. This level of mental energy undoubtedly reached the range of a first-class master. If Ethan was previously a near first-rate non-user with lagging mind power, the situation now was entirely different. Furthermore, the substantial increase in mind energy naturally enhanced his overall strength. So, I'm a first-class non-user now. Ethan smiled softly to himself. Chapter 13, Boom. 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 In the lush and dense forest, enormous pink creatures could be seen running wildly, their massive bodies and immense power causing the ground to shake wherever they passed. These were the wild boars that the hunters needed to capture in the second round of the exam. Ah! Asshole, take this powerful spin kick. Damn it, what kind of pig is this? How can it be so powerful? As the wild boars were discovered, candidates hurried to capture them, but the boar's strength was far beyond many candidates' expectations. Their enormous size, aggressive behavior, and hard, giant snouts led to many candidates being knocked aside and sent flying, screaming in embarrassment. Of course, there were also many candidates who adeptly handled the situation, discovering that the weak point of these giant-snouted boars was the forehead behind the hard snout, allowing them to dispatch the creatures with ease. In one part of the forest, a wild boar with a giant snout was rampaging violently, heading straight for Ethan and Lisa, who were searching for it. Bounce the thread. As the giant-snouted boar charged, Ethan raised his hand and pointed with his index finger. Instantly, a sharp thread shot from his fingertip, launching like a bullet. Poof! With a sharp sound, the thread bullet accurately avoided the boar's hard snout and struck its weakest point on the forehead, boring a deep, bloody hole. Struck hard, the once violent and ferocious giant-snouted boar let out a scream. Its speed greatly reduced, it fell to the ground in front of Ethan and Lisa due to inertia, kicking up a cloud of dust. That's quite powerful. Lisa, standing nearby, whistled lightly with interest at the sight of the bloodied boar. It was clear Lisa was in high spirits. This wasn't just because of finding the wild boar, but also due to the effects of the blood body. After Ethan, Lisa also consumed the blood body. Even though she had learned about its effects from Ethan beforehand, she was overjoyed when she experienced the significant increase in her energy firsthand. Though she had reached the level of a second-rate non-user, both her strength and mind energy were weaker than Ethan's. The 10,000 unit increase in her telekinetic power nearly doubled her energy. Such a substantial boost brought her immense joy. Returning to the bounce the thread technique, the power of the thread bullet was comparable to bullets fired from ordinary firearms. And this was without Ethan using enhancer. With his enhancer's energy wrapped around the thread, the power of thread bullet would be considerably enhanced. There is still much room for improvement. I've only just acquired this ability. With enough time to study it, the power can be greatly improved. Despite Lisa's praise, Ethan wasn't satisfied. He had unfinished business on his mind. Although he had quickly developed simple moves like 5-colored thread, rogue thread, and bounce thread from the thread fruit by referencing Doflamingo, the true power of these moves depended on the development of the thread fruit itself. The more deeply the thread fruit was developed, the stronger the threads produced would be, and different types of threads could form. Just as Ethan pondered how to best develop the thread fruit, another giant-snouted wild boar appeared nearby. These boars were social animals thriving in this forest, otherwise unable to withstand a mass capture by candidates. This giant-snouted boar had clearly been drawn by the commotion. Seeing Ethan and Lisa near its fallen companion, the boar's eyes turned violet, and it charged at them with intent to attack. Ethan glanced at the boar but had no intention of intervening, as this was Lisa's prey. Huh? Lisa, who noticed the boar as quickly as Ethan did, didn't hesitate. She drew a white pistol from thin air with her right hand, aiming it in a split second before firing a powerful metal bullet. Bang! With flesh and blood bursting, just like Ethan's thread bullet. Lisa's metal bullet accurately avoided the boar's snout and struck its forehead. However, it was more powerful than the thread. Lisa's metal bullet blew off the boar's head, leaving a bloody hole nearly the size of a basketball. Hey! That's overkill. Was it necessary to use the white gun for such a target? Ethan looked at the boar's gruesome demise and turned to Lisa with a helpless expression. I'm just testing how many white gun bullets I can fire with my increased mental energy. Lisa replied casually. Alright, fair enough. Let's head back. Ethan conceded, stepping forward to lift the boar he had killed. An adult wild boar weighed over 500 kilograms, more than half a ton. But, even so, many candidates could easily carry it. Those who passed the second exam surely had excellent physical fitness. Lisa effortlessly lifted her giant-snouted boar and chatted with Ethan as they headed back to the examination venue. Despite taking time to consume the blood body, Ethan and Lisa weren't the last candidates to return to the examination venue. The two found adjacent kitchen counters and began cooking the wild pigs. It wasn't so much cooking as it was lighting the fire and casually roasting the wild boar over the flames. There wasn't much else to do, as neither Ethan nor Lisa were skilled chefs. They were more focused on satisfying their hunger. After all, it was too late to learn cooking, and there was no time for culinary exploration. When they craved delicious food, they'd simply make money and visit high-end restaurants. Chapter 14, Ethan Wells wasn't worried about passing the exam. Looking around the venue, he noticed all the candidates who had caught wild boars were in the same situation as he was, including Gon and the others. With how things are going, as long as there are no surprises, it will progress just like the original plot. Ethan glanced at Gon and Leorio, who were roasting their wild boar nearby, feeling confident. As expected, the next development mirrored the original storyline. Candidates believed they were adept at cooking the food. Except for Buhara, who passed the test, all failed under Menchai's scrutiny. This was partly because Menchai wasn't as relaxed as Buhara and partly due to Hisoka's menacing aura. Just like in the original series, Hisoka exuded a murderous intent, making Menchai anxious and impatient. The result was inevitable, leading to Nitero's intervention. Boom. He descended from the airship hovering above, landing with forceful impact at the center of the venue, shattering the ground and kicking up dust. Isaac Nitero. Once the strongest human in the world. Now, even in old age, he's a formidable figure at the pinnacle of humanity. Standing with the other candidates, Ethan watched Nitero's impressive entrance. There was no contest. Compared to a world-class non-user like Nitero, Ethan was far behind. If they were to fight, Nitero could likely defeat him in a single encounter. However, this didn't deter Ethan from setting Nitero as his goal. The system has an achievement called Strongest Human. To complete it, I must surpass Nitero and even defeat him in battle. Ethan felt a surge of determination, recalling the main achievements listed by the system during his free time. The Strongest Human not only offered generous rewards but was an enticing title. Ethan wasn't one to adopt a laid-back mentality, otherwise, he wouldn't have become an user before the system was activated. He harbored great ambitions for himself. Toadhu Mountain became the new exam location, as decided by Menchai after Nitero's intervention. Hey! Everyone, please take a closer look at the bottom of the cliff. The candidates landed via airship, then followed Menchai to a bottomless cliff. What is that? Upon hearing Menchai's words, the candidates focused their attention on the cliff below. Some showed surprise. Suspended mid-air on the cliff were enormous spider webs, connecting the cliff walls, with nests of eggs hanging from them. This is the grape spider's nest. Look carefully under the nets. Those are the eggs laid by the grape spider. That is the challenge of this new exam. You need to descend and capture one of the grape spider eggs, then bring it back up. Menchai briefly introduced the exam challenge, watching the candidates with amusement. Are you kidding? How are we supposed to go down there? There's nowhere to stand on the cliff below. Going down means certain death. I'm definitely not going down there. While candidates were eager for the re-examination and participated enthusiastically, Menchai's announcement of the new exam challenge clearly scared many. Menchai wasn't surprised by the candidates' reactions. Even if she hadn't demonstrated the capture method, the inherent danger would likely deter many candidates. So, after assessing the candidates' responses, Menchai prepared to demonstrate. But just as she spoke, one of the candidates suddenly leaped off the cliff. Hey! I haven't demonstrated how to capture it yet. Startled, Menchai quickly looked at the figure jumping off the cliff and shouted. It's the guy who had a conflict with Hisoka. Is he trying to kill himself? Has he already figured out a way? Getting down is easy, but how will he get back up? Even with professional rock climbing skills, carrying an egg of that size makes it more difficult. The other candidates were equally startled, looking around quickly. For instance, Leorio, recognizing Ethan, subconsciously thought Ethan was attempting suicide. Meanwhile, Kurapika, Gon, and Killua, after their initial surprise, speculated whether Ethan had found a method for capture. It's okay, Miss Examiner, my companion won't be hindered by this challenge. Next to the shouting Menchai, Lisa stepped forward, watching Ethan skillfully grasp a spider silk mid-descent with a relaxed smile. Your companion? Menchai looked at Lisa, then glanced back at Ethan at the cliff space with narrowed eyes, thoughtfully. The webs spun by grape spiders were incredibly strong. As Ethan swooped downward, grabbing a piece of spider silk, his body sank slightly before the resilient silk cushioned the fall and bounced him upward. Almost instantly, using the silk's rebound, Ethan leaped again in midair, crossing several meters to grab a nest of spider eggs hanging below the silk. The inertia of his fall tore the connecting spider threads, threatening to pull him further down. As Ethan grasped the nest, he skillfully turned, stabilizing himself. Chapter 15, Spider Thread. Turning from face down to face up, Ethan Wells showed no panic as he looked at the candidates on the cliff. With a relaxed expression, he shot a thin line from his free left hand. This thin thread was actually a larger silk thread composed of dozens of strands, different from the sharp 5-color thread. The properties of this thin thread were similar to the spider silk of a grape spider, or it was based on the spider silk. The silk was a special thread produced for reference. As the spider silk thread was fired, it not only instantly hit the edge of the cliff where the candidates stood but also demonstrated considerable stickiness, adhering firmly to the cliff. As Ethan fell, the spider silk thread stretched immediately, and upon reaching its limit, it contracted forcefully like a spring, propelling Ethan upward like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, Ethan soared up the cliff, dispersed the threads of the spider silk, and landed back on the edge with agile movements, occupying the empty spot beside Lisa. Examiner Menchai, did we pass the exam? After landing smoothly, Ethan casually handed one of the spider eggs to Lisa and then smiled at Menchai and Nitaro, who stood nearby. Lisa wasn't shy. She weighed the spider eggs and looked at Menchai with a matching smile. How did he get up here? He seemed to have shot a small rope from his hand just now. Was it a prop prepared in advance? He actually came up and brought back the egg. Did he just pass the exam? From Ethan jumping off the cliff to returning, the sequence was so smooth and fast that some candidates didn't even react. Seeing the spider eggs in Ethan and Lisa's hands, many candidates were either surprised, confused, or looked on with envy and jealousy. Something's not right. He did shoot a line that looked like spider silk just now, but with my eyesight, I could clearly see that the line came from his hand, and it was definitely not a prop. Killua, too, observed Ethan with surprise, similar to the keenly observant Kurapika. Kurapika was also aware of the anomaly, and the issues revealed during the brief fight between Ethan and Hisoka made him scrutinize Ethan closely, as if trying to uncover hidden secrets. Not only can he produce sharp threads, but he can also create threads like spider silk. It's becoming more fascinating. Hisoka was among those watching Ethan. His heart murmured with excitement, his eyes filled with a fiery desire to fight Ethan growing stronger. Back to Ethan. Hey, your ability is quite convenient. Since you brought back the grape spider's egg, you naturally passed the test. And so do you. Menchai now understood why Ethan had jumped off the cliff so calmly. She just curled her lips in response to what Ethan said. At the same time, seeing Lisa holding the grape spider eggs and smiling at her, Menchai readily affirmed her success too. Although Lisa's grape spider egg was given by Ethan, there was no rule against obtaining it from others. Moreover, Menchai noticed the energy surrounding Lisa, so it wasn't a wasted effort. Thank you, Miss Examiner. Lisa smiled, feeling grateful to Menchai for allowing it. Today's young people are truly amazing. Nitaro, standing nearby, looked at Ethan and Lisa, stroking his beard with a smile. Compared to President Nitaro, I'm far behind. Ethan replied modestly, seeing Nitaro speak. Alright, since you've passed, step aside. I still have to demonstrate the correct method to the remaining candidates. Menchai waved them off, then continued with the examination process for the other candidates. Seeing Lisa also pass the exam, many candidates eyed the remaining grape spider eggs in Ethan's hand. There were a total of 5 grape spider eggs in this nest. Even with Ethan and Lisa each taking 1, 3 eggs remained, enough for 3 more candidates to pass. However, the candidates eyeing the eggs were among the least capable. Recalling the earlier confrontation between Ethan and Hisoka, and with Nitaro present, these candidates hesitated and didn't dare approach. Lisa, go cook these eggs. I have something I want to discuss with President Nitaro. Ethan ignored the candidates' attention and casually handed all the grape spider eggs to Lisa. Yeah. Lisa nodded, glanced at Nitaro, and went to the cooking area where Buhara was overseeing. President Nitaro, I wonder if I, a junior, can ask you some questions? After Lisa left, Ethan looked at Nitaro, who was watching him with interest, and smiled. Asking me for advice. A smile appeared on Nitaro's face, as if responding to Ethan's request with the kindness of an elder. But the next second, his demeanor shifted suddenly, and he said seriously, No. No way? That's such a pity. Ethan sighed, showing undisguised regret. He genuinely wanted to ask Nitaro some questions and was just giving it a try. Are you disappointed? But reality is so cruel. Nitaro returned to his smile and looked at Ethan with amusement. But after finishing his previous sentence, he suddenly changed his mind and said, Of course, it's not impossible to ask for paid advice. Oh? I wonder what President Nitaro needs? Ethan's interest piqued, he asked immediately. Ha ha ha. Don't say that I, a senior, won't give you, a junior, a chance. The location of the next exam requires traveling by airship. It won't arrive until tomorrow. If you're willing to play a game with me on the way, and if you win, I don't mind giving you a chance to ask for advice. Nitaro said with a smile while stroking his beard. Chapter 16, Ethan Wells's eyes gleamed, and he immediately asked, Can you tell me what game we're playing? The game is more interesting when it's unknown. Once you agree to my request, you'll naturally find out. Nitaro replied with a mysterious smile. Ethan responded with a resigned sigh, It seems I have no choice, so I'll give it a try. Hoo ho ho. That's the spirit. I'm quite reputable when it comes to games. Nitaro said with a confident grin. I hope so. Ethan thought, observing Nitaro's smile. He wasn't afraid of losing the game. If that happened, he could only blame his own incompetence and accept defeat. However, knowing Nitaro's playful nature, Ethan worried the man might not keep his word. Given Nitaro's character, this was a real possibility. Still, Ethan had no other choice. Unless he gave up his opportunity to seek advice, he wanted to try and resolve the questions in his mind if he had the chance. The makeup exam process unfolded just as it did in the original plot, with little change due to Ethan's presence. After another group of candidates was eliminated, those who successfully captured the grape spider eggs, having tasted their delicacy, boarded the airship to the next exam location. High in the night sky, the airship moved forward slowly. Meanwhile, the candidates enjoyed a rare chance to rest. Knowing the exam conditions, Ethan didn't just find a spot to rest like the others. Instead, he took Lisa to a room with a bathroom on the airship. After a refreshing shower to wash away the day's sweat and dust, Ethan casually sat on the sofa in the room. "What are you planning to ask Chairman Nitaro?" At the foot of the bed, Lisa, also fresh from a shower and wearing a bathrobe, dried her hair with a towel and asked Ethan curiously. She had learned about Ethan's discussion with Nitaro and was intrigued by what question Ethan would specifically ask Nitaro. "It's about spiritual practice. Although we might be far from it, I want to understand it as soon as possible," Ethan said, lighting a cigarette and exhaling slowly. Lisa nodded knowingly. The most profound impression she had of Ethan was his dedication to practice. If something was worth Ethan's study, it was likely related to practice. Of course, this diligence was something Lisa greatly admired. Compared to her original path, now, through her relationship with Ethan, she had glimpsed a deeper level of their world. What ordinary people considered powerful was, in reality, insignificant in the eyes of truly strong individuals. Similarly, only strong strength ensures survival in this world. Without the determination to practice diligently, survival becomes difficult. Dong dong dong. "Mr. Ethan, are you here? President Nitaro sent me to find you. If you're here, please come out. President Nitaro is waiting for you." A knock on the door was followed by a voice outside. "Yes, I'll be right out." Ethan put out his cigarette in the ashtray, replied to the person outside, then stood and looked at Lisa. "If I come back late, go ahead and sleep. Given the situation, Hisoka likely won't cause trouble." Though Hisoka was a madman, he wasn't completely irrational, more of a rational madman. With Nitaro in charge, Hisoka wouldn't risk causing problems. "Alright, be careful. Don't push yourself too hard if you can't manage." Lisa nodded, putting down the towel and helping Ethan straighten his clothes with concern. "Don't worry, I've got it under control." Ethan smiled, kissed Lisa on the forehead, and then headed towards the door. After stepping out and closing the door, he found an exam staff member in a suit waiting in the corridor. "Mr. Ethan, please follow me." The staff member smiled politely and led the way. Ethan casually put his hands in his trouser pockets and followed in a relaxed manner. After several turns, they arrived at a room door. Hearing movement inside, Ethan felt a flicker of recognition. "Mr. Ethan, President Nitaro is inside." "I'll take my leave now," the staff member said, indicating the closed door, then left. Ethan didn't hesitate, opening the door and stepping inside. Bang! 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 The noise inside intensified as the door opened. It felt like entering a basketball court. Ethan scanned the room and immediately spotted Nitaro, wearing a vest and dribbling a ball with one hand, joyfully dodging Gon and Killua's attempts. So that's how it is. Seeing the scene, Ethan feigned surprise, though he was unsurprised inside. When Ethan entered, the three paused their ball game to look at him at the door. "Don't mind me. Keep playing. I'll join when you're tired." Ethan waved and smiled at the trio, then walked to the wall and sat down with his back against it. With his right leg bent at the knee and his left leg half extended, Ethan rested his right arm on his bent knee, sitting in a relaxed hunter sit, seemingly watching the game with interest. The room was spacious and uncluttered, resembling an empty practice area more than a typical room. From the sweat on Gon and Killua, it was clear the trio had been playing for some time before Ethan's arrival. "Is it him? How did he get here?" Killua looked at Ethan in surprise, with a touch of wariness in his eyes. Among the candidates, few could make him feel threatened. While Ethan wasn't the strongest, he was certainly one of them. Having received professional training from his family, Killua naturally remained cautious of those who posed a threat. Chapter 17, compared to Killua, Gon also glanced at Ethan Wells with curiosity. Noticing that Nitaro's attention seemed drawn to Ethan, Gon quietly approached and lunged to seize the ball. Huh. Of course, Nitaro wasn't caught off guard by Gon. He hopped back on one foot to dodge, causing Gon to fall. Hoo ho ho. Young people these days really lack martial ethics, resorting to sneak attacks. Nitaro looked at Gon with feigned contempt. But this disdain was more like enjoyment. Damn it, the president's reaction was too fast. Killua, let's try again. Gon, naturally, refused to give up easily. He sprang up nimbly and called out energetically to Killua, charging at Nitaro once more. Hearing his friend's call, Killua temporarily set aside his attention on Ethan and quickly followed, attempting to limit Netero's movement range. The ball bounced off the ground and into the air in Netero's hands. No matter how hard Gon and Killua tried to grab it, they couldn't make contact. As the ball competition heated up, Ethan appeared to be watching with great interest, but he was actually focused on the strange notification in his mind. Ding dong. Trigger the branch achievement, King of Games, and ask a host to win the next ball competition game. If you win, you can earn generous rewards. This was the message from the system in Ethan's mind when he entered the room and saw Netero playing with Gon and Killua. Triggered another branch achievement? King of Games, what a funny name for an achievement. But now I'm even more determined to win. From the moment he saw the room's setup, Ethan knew what game Netero was referring to. The system's branch achievement further motivated him. Having already enjoyed the benefits, Ethan was naturally interested in the system's rewards. Once a branch achievement was triggered, he wouldn't pass it up. However, Ethan also felt the gravity of the situation. Even though it was just a ball game and not a real battle, snatching the ball from Netero would be no easy feat unless Netero allowed it. With his mind racing, Ethan quickly set aside his thoughts on the achievement and began to keenly observe the field. Just like in the original plot, Netero faced Gon and Killua's attempts with ease, using only his right foot and left hand. I wonder if he'll be in the same state when it's my turn. Ethan mused, watching Netero's movements intently. If Netero used only one hand and one foot, Ethan's chances of grabbing the ball would undoubtedly increase. After observing Netero for a while, Ethan's gaze shifted to Killua, his eyes glinting slightly. Unlike Gon, who acted on raw instinct, Killua displayed his professional skills during the game. These skills naturally included the assassination techniques inherited from the Zoltek family. Moving silently, striking swiftly though it wasn't an assassination, the ingrained skills were evident. Ethan had practiced a martial art style called Spring Fist style early on, using it to rise to the top of the 200th floor in the Sky Arena. But as his skills advanced, and he reached the limits of this technique, he had to innovate and find his own path. His chosen path was to engage various martial artists and non-users, leveraging his unique talent to analyze and learn from each, integrating strengths into new boxing techniques. He was currently on this path, progressing smoothly. Meanwhile, his learning process continued. Whenever he encountered promising martial arts or fighting skills, he'd observe and analyze, seeing if they could be integrated into his techniques to enhance power and potential. The Zoltek family's assassination skills naturally fell into this category, with significant power and potential. Noticing Killua's skills, Ethan observed quietly, attempting to absorb them. As for Netero, his level was too high, and he wasn't exerting his full strength, so Ethan couldn't glean any useful nutrients from him. Bang! With a swift kick, Killua's left leg struck Netero's right leg, producing a dull thud. Ouch! Killua, initially confident, thinking he could unbalance Netero with the blow, froze as pain surged through his leg, causing him to collapse, covering his left leg in cold sweat. It was clear that even with Netero restraining his mental energy, his physical strength far exceeded Killua's. Seeing Killua countered by his own kick, Netero remained composed, deftly flicking the ball with his left hand to evade Gon's grasp. Would you like a rest? It seems you're having trouble. Why not let someone else try? Netero twirled the ball on his finger, exuding ease. Gon steadied himself, eager for another attempt. Wait, Gon, let's take a break. Killua stood unsteadily but quickly halted Gon's move. Well. Okay, let's rest. Gon glanced at Killua's raised leg, agreeing to the proposal after a moment's hesitation. He thought Killua might be injured and needed recovery time. However, Killua wasn't truly injured. Though his left leg hurt, the impact would fade quickly. He suggested a break because he realized Netero was more formidable than expected and wanted time to assess Ethan's capabilities. Is it my turn? Watching Killua and Gon leave the field and rest against the wall, Ethan stood with a smile, stepping into the game area. Chapter 18, How about it? You've been observing for a while now. You should understand the game's situation. Netero walked over to Ethan Wells with a smile. Well, it's just about grabbing the ball, right? Ethan nodded. Yes, but you're different from those two youngsters, so we need to establish 3 special rules. Netero raised 3 fingers with his free right hand. First, no special powers can be used. Whoever uses them will lose. Second, don't destroy the ball. Whoever destroys it loses. Third, the game is limited to this room. Anyone who exceeds the room's boundaries will lose. With each rule, Netero retracted a finger until he formed a fist, then watched Ethan's reaction with a smile. Special power, what is that, some kind of hidden move? Killua sat, closely observing the two on the field. When he heard the 3 rules from Netero, he keenly picked up on the key information from the first rule, Doubts arose in his mind, and thoughts flashed across his mind. His attention immediately became more focused, wanting to understand what the special power the two of them were talking about was. On Ethan's side, he quickly reviewed the 3 rules mentioned by Netero in his mind. The second and third rules were straightforward, but the first rule was particularly important. The special powers obviously refer to Nin. Although Ethan's abilities aren't strictly Nin, Netero wouldn't know that, so he couldn't use them. As for why Netero included this rule, Ethan glanced at the 2 kids sitting nearby. It was likely to reduce the damage and prevent the 2 youngsters from learning about Nin too early. Ethan didn't dwell on Netero's deeper motives. After confirming the 3 rules, he nodded and said, "I understand, and I have no problem with these rules. Okay, let our game begin." A smile appeared in Netero's eyes, and he grabbed the ball firmly with his right hand that had been spinning it. Huh. Almost at the same moment, Ethan sprang into action as soon as Netero announced the start. His legs exploded with incredible power. Like a flash, he appeared beside Netero in an instant, his left hand reaching for the ball like lightning. He quickly adapted to his newfound strength, and after a day of relaxation, he had fully mastered his power. With his current physique, both his explosive power and speed had significantly improved. So fast. Gone, his explosive power is even higher than mine? Killua nice speed, but still too green. Netero, not to mention the reactions of Gon and Killua, Netero easily understood Ethan's movements. He laughed inwardly, turned, and pulled the ball away from Ethan's grasping right hand. Not so easy. Ethan's eyes flashed, and his left hand didn't stop. Instead, it landed on Netero's opposite shoulder. Not to attack, but to use leverage. As Ethan gripped Netero's shoulder, he used his legs to propel himself. Like a graceful monkey, he flipped upside down in the air and aimed to kick the ball to the other side. Netero's body sank slightly from the force, disrupting his balance. Huh? Quite capable. Netero appreciated Ethan's maneuver, but his actions remained swift. The shoulder being used didn't resist, instead, it moved downward smoothly. In a half squat, Netero displayed his agility and quick reactions. He instantly adjusted his center of gravity, withdrawing his left hand, causing Ethan to miss the ball and land on the ground. Bang! The ground trembled slightly, but there were no visible signs of damage. It's not that Ethan lacked the strength to crush the ground, but he controlled his power, focusing on speed to avoid destroying the ball. Otherwise, with his strength, even steel plates could be easily penetrated. After failing to secure the ball in his first attempt, Ethan didn't pause. He quickly spun around, using his right foot as a pivot, and aimed a punch at Netero's face with his left hand. Boom! The sharp sound of the punch roared, more like a spear thrust than a simple punch. The fist, like a spear tip, shot out with speed and precision, embodying the assassination technique from Ethan's early training. Instead of going for the ball again, Ethan aimed directly at Netero. This move made the watching Gon and Killua's pupils contract. Not good. What a powerful attack. Gon was shocked, while Killua felt threatened by Ethan's attack. Even though assassination was an early technique for Ethan, its lethality, combined with Ethan's advanced practice and physique, was terrifying. Despite the formidable attack, Netero remained unfazed. He sidestepped slightly, tilting his head to narrowly avoid Ethan's fist. While this attack threatened Killua, it didn't pressure Netero. But Ethan didn't expect his move to hurt Netero. Assassination was a mere feint. As Netero dodged, Ethan used the inertia to spring forward, tapping the ground with his right foot. He darted forward like a snake, brushing past Netero, his body leaping through the air, right hand reaching for the ball hidden behind Netero. Your physical coordination is commendable, but you're still far from snatching the ball from me. Netero had anticipated Ethan's move. Without much thought, he leaped into the air, causing Ethan to grab at nothing once more. Chapter 19, Snap. In midair, Ethan Wells spun violently. Just as he missed, he hit the ground with both hands. Then, with his feet pointing upward, he quickly spun into the air to catch up with Netero. Like a diagonal tornado, while Netero was still airborne, Ethan struck again, spinning rapidly as his feet turned into afterimages in a barrage of kicks. Netero reacted immediately, his eyes narrowing with a hint of surprise. He hadn't expected Ethan's reaction to be so swift and his body coordination so excellent. Surprised or not, Netero was certainly not incapable of countering. Even using only his right foot and left hand, as he did in previous games with Gon and Killua, Netero displayed his prowess. Not only did he showcase faster reaction speed, but his body coordination was also even more impressive. Even in midair, with extraordinary control, he raised his right foot and countered Ethan's onslaught. Bang! The numerous afterimages didn't faze Netero. With incredible precision, Netero collided with Ethan's right foot. As the air cracked, Nitaro used the force of Ethan's kick to glide back lightly. Then, as he neared the ceiling, he flipped gracefully, planting his right foot on the ceiling and quickly rebounding to the ground nearby. Landing only on his right foot, Nitaro dribbled the ball with his left hand and smiled at Ethan. Having been countered by Nitaro, Ethan's upward momentum dissipated, forcing him to fall back to the ground. Just before hitting the ground, Ethan flipped gracefully, landing on his feet and supporting himself with his right hand, assuming a poised stance. My reaction speed and body coordination are both better than mine. It's really hard to deal with. Upon landing, Ethan's eyes focused on Nitaro, not far away. Compared to Nitaro's relaxed demeanor, Ethan was clearly more serious. Though he anticipated a tough challenge, after engaging, Ethan had to admit he underestimated Nitaro. Even using only one hand and one foot, Nitaro's skills were so powerful and flexible that it was astonishing. And this was with Nitaro being older and less vigorous. In his prime, he'd be even more formidable. However, despite the challenge, Ethan didn't retreat but became even more eager, putting aside the questions he wanted to ask. The opportunity to fight someone like Nitaro, even without using Nen, was invaluable. Come again, you almost snatched it from me just now. Nitaro, holding the ball, praised Ethan. Stop lying. Ethan's eyes glimmered with determination. He shouted and his legs exploded with power. The solid floor cracked under his feet, leaving 2 small craters. With astonishing explosive force, Ethan dashed forward like a cheetah, closing the gap between them in a single bound. Whipping up a roaring wave of air with incredible speed, Ethan executed the assassination, punching rapidly like spear tips, creating a flurry of fist shadows around Nitaro. Nitaro's skills were too agile. Without restraint, contact would be difficult, let alone stealing the ball. His fists rained like a relentless storm. Yet, amidst the onslaught, Nitaro moved gracefully, balancing on one foot as he deftly evaded Ethan's punches. Throughout, he kept the ball securely behind him, denying Ethan any chance to seize it. That's amazing. Gon watched the intense battle, eyes wide. Whether it was Ethan's assassination or Nitaro's evasive prowess, it was enlightening for him. Gon's potential was immense, like the legendary Freak's lineage, and he stood among the world's elite. Yet, having grown up in a free-spirited environment, his actions and fighting relied heavily on instinct. This free-spirited approach wasn't necessarily bad, but for someone like Gon, who just ventured out, his perspective needed broadening. Watching the battle between Ethan and Nitaro broadened Gon's horizons, revealing the vastness of the world. As for Killua's reaction, he observed the battle closely, his expression serious. Damn it, this old man wasn't serious at all before. And this guy? I really underestimated the Hunter exam. Though many aren't impressive, some true masters like Hisoka and this guy stand out. Thoughts flickered through his mind, and Killua's emotions fluctuated. The gap between Nitaro and Killua was vast. Even with rigorous training, Killua couldn't fully grasp the disparity when facing Nitaro. Just like in the original plot, when his killer instinct was piqued, Killua believed continuing would end in him killing to grab the ball, leading him to withdraw. But this was a misconception. Killua was unaware of Nitaro's true power. Now, compared to his skirmish with Gon and Killua, Nitaro showed more strength against Ethan, making Killua realize Nitaro hadn't been serious before. Though this was still only a fraction of Nitaro's power, it was enough to shift Killua's mindset. And Ethan, despite not managing to seize the ball in his attacks, demonstrated skills that earned Killua's respect, even treating him as a worthy adversary. There was no denying that, during the exam period, they were competitors. Though the next exam's content remained unknown, Killua's assassin instincts compelled him to strategize against Ethan, assessing his chances of success. Chapter 20, Gun Fist, Collapse. Hundreds of punches fired in succession like a torrential downpour, each nimbly dodged by Nitaro, but there was no opportunity to steal the ball. Ethan Wells decisively changed his attack, taking a step forward and crushing the floor to create a deep footprint. As he closed the distance between them, he bent his right arm inward, channeling all his strength to deliver a powerful elbow strike aimed at Nitaro. Gun Fist, Collapse is the most powerful of the 3 unique moves of the Gun Fist style. One blow is enough to send an elephant flying and possesses the potential to crush all things. Ethan's current move signaled a more aggressive attack. Are you getting anxious? Though the attack is stronger, the speed remains unchanged. Nitaro recognized the power of the Gun Fist, Collapse move and, with his thought, once again used his flexible skills to dodge to the side on his right foot, as he did before. The power of Collapse is indeed greater than that of assassination. But its speed hasn't increased. No matter how powerful an attack is, it must hit the target to be effective. In Nitaro's eyes, there is no difference between Collapse and assassination, both can be evaded with ease. Buzz. As Nitaro dodged, The fierce elbow strike seemed destined to miss again, but at that moment, Ethan's eyes shone with intense focus. It was as if time had slowed down, though more accurately, Ethan used his extraordinary ability to compress his sense of time to the extreme. Real masters often experience an illusion of time during intense battles, akin to seeing a live flashing moment. People feel time slow down at the brink of death. This time illusion is called heart drop technique. What Ethan now exhibited was what many top masters fail to master, heart drop technique. Traveling into this world, although the unreliable system has yet to come online, Ethan hasn't been without benefits. First, his body reverted to his teenage years. If not, with an adult body, his potential would have been greatly reduced. Then there were physical changes. The human physiques of the two worlds differ vastly. In his past world, no matter how rigorous the training, one could only reach the level of ordinary hunter exam candidates. Even with aura nodes, that was a different matter. Finally, there is extraordinary insight. If the first two benefits enable Ethan to compete with people in this world, the last benefit truly gives him the foundation to become a strong fighter. In just 3 years, Ethan mastered the spear fist style. A feat that took others decades to perfect. He relied not only on hard training but also on the extraordinary insight brought by the benefits of his time-traveling experience. With extraordinary insight, Ethan can discern subtleties that others cannot. For example, while others might understand 20 to 30% of a boxing demonstration, Ethan can grasp 100% due to his extraordinary insight. Not to mention Ethan's further development of his extraordinary insights. Through repeated life and death battles and gathering world information, Ethan forcibly enhanced his insight, elevating it to heart drop technique. Back to the fight. When one's own sensory time is compressed, it creates an effect similar to the slowing of the external world's time flow. In the state of heart drop technique, although it doesn't allow Ethan to truly transcend time, it gives him ample time to react and maximize his body movements. Gun fist, flowing blade. With sharp eyes, Ethan saw Nitero's dodge movements become slow and clear in his perception. In an instant, he changed his move, transforming his elbow strike into a whip fist. Simultaneously, his right hand formed a knife shape, bursting out faster and slashing toward Nitero's left wrist, which held the ball. Gun fist, flowing blade is also one of the 3 unique skills of the gun fist style. It mimics a sword-like slash with a gun blade. As the name implies, spear fist style is a boxing technique derived from spear skills. The 3 major moves are derived from the spear's 3 attack methods: spear thrust, spear chop, and spear collapse. Compared to the collapse that focuses on power and the assassination that seeks penetration, the flowing blade boasts razor-sharp tearing power and surpasses the former 2 in speed. As for why Ethan didn't directly seize the ball but instead targeted the wrist, it wasn't from lack of desire, but even in the heart drop technique state, Nitero's speed surpassed his. Ultimately, heart drop technique only slows time in perception, not in reality. In this state, Ethan merely has more time to react. Even so, the power of heart drop technique is undeniable. The offensive was about to fail, but with Ethan's sudden change of moves, it revived the chance of success. A slashing sound echoed. Ethan's hand strike successfully connected with Nitero's wrist. Nitero's reaction was swift. Although caught off guard and unable to fully evade, he exerted force on his wrist instantly, resisting the hand strike that could tear rock. However, in the collision, Nitero's movement was disrupted, and the ball in his hand was swiped away by the prepared Ethan. The ball is out of hand. Good chance. Gon and Killua, closely watching from the sidelines, brightened as they saw Ethan knock the ball away from Nitero. This was the first time Nitero lost control of the ball, sparking hope of gaining possession. The ball spun toward a corner of the room. Without hesitation, Ethan reacted with lightning speed, stamping hard on the floor to create a dent, then launching himself toward the ball like a bullet. Chapter 21. How did this kid's reaction speed suddenly become so much faster? Nitero was stunned when the ball slipped from his grasp. Seeing Ethan Wells darting toward the ball with incredible speed, his expression shifted, and his eyes sharpened. Bang! His right leg, bent and then straightened, unleashed an explosive force that left a deep imprint on the floor. Nitero surged forward with speed far surpassing his previous efforts, quickly catching up to Ethan, who had taken the lead. He was about to overtake Ethan and snatch the ball first. This is the moment. Maintaining the heart drop technique, Nitero's movements seemed to slow in Ethan's perception. Though appearing to struggle for the ball, when Nitero came alongside him, Ethan planted a foot and pivoted sideways. Boom! The entire room trembled as his immense force crushed the floor into a large depression. Simultaneously, the recoil allowed Ethan to reverse direction forcefully. Moving like lightning, at a speed that created afterimages, when Nitero had just surpassed Ethan by more than half a body length, Ethan seized Nitero's trailing right leg. Ha! He shouted, his muscles swelling beneath his black combat uniform, bursting with fierce power. Gripping Nitero's right leg, Ethan swiftly spun, swinging Nitero in a half-circle and hurling him toward the room's wooden door. With Ethan's strength, the impact was akin to a cannonball fired from a muzzle. No, this guy's trying to use the rules to throw me out of bounds? Anyone else would have been disoriented from such a violent swing, unable to respond. But Nitero was different. He judged Ethan's intentions almost instantly. With the momentum of being thrown, hitting the wooden door or even a nearby wall would suffice to break through them. The game rules stipulated that leaving the room meant losing the game. Sensing Ethan's intent, Nitero was determined to counter. As soon as his right leg was freed from Ethan's grasp, he twisted and tumbled with extraordinary body coordination, neutralizing the impact with the roaring airwaves. Just before hitting the ground, Nitero adjusted his posture, landing perfectly on his right foot once more, then turned to face Ethan. Forehead. Nitero's expression froze momentarily as he saw Ethan already holding the ball, smiling at him. Quickly replaying the sequence in his mind, Nitero realized, damn it, was this kid already planning this when he knocked the ball away? He used the rotation to control the angle of the ball's rebound. Not only was he trying to use the game's rules to throw me out of the room, but he aimed to control my movements. Truly a clever strategy. His frozen expression softened, and Nitero nonchalantly placed his left foot, which had never touched the ground, down. Having lost the game, there was no need to continue the charade. 1. He actually got the ball. Gon and Killua, who were watching, reacted to the outcome. Gon stood up excitedly, eyes shining with desire and passion as he looked at the ball in Ethan's hand. Though he hadn't seized it himself, Ethan's success was immensely motivating. Killua, meanwhile, wore an expression of surprise mixed with complexity. Moments ago, he and Gon had tried their best but failed to win the ball. Now that someone had succeeded, it made him question if he was inferior. Not to mention Gon and Killua's reactions. After seeing Nitero's left foot touch ground, Ethan approached with the ball. Though smiling, the sweat on his face revealed the effort it took to win the ball. Physical exertion was one thing, but heart drop technique was mentally taxing. The more powerful the ability, the greater the burden. The heart drop technique's strain was mental. Though the process from activation to securing the ball happened in a short span, maintaining the state left Ethan mentally fatigued. Thanks to his strengthened spirit from rigorous training and countless life or death encounters, Ethan endured. Otherwise, if he'd just arrived in this world, even mastering the heart drop technique would have exhausted him instantly. Thus, no matter how powerful, mastery of a skill is crucial. Otherwise, it's like a child holding a machine gun, one might perish before causing harm. Thank you, President, for going easy on me. Reaching Nitero, Ethan handed him the ball. Successfully capturing the ball was gratifying, but not cause for overconfidence. After all, Nitero used only his right hand and left foot, and approached the game with a playful mindset. Winning under these conditions didn't inflate Ethan's pride. Ho. A win is a win. No mercy involved. Nitero said, stroking his beard and looking at Ethan with interest. Have you mastered the heart drop technique? Nitero may not have initially noticed, but upon reflection, he recognized the changes in Ethan and inquired about it. Ethan nodded with a smile. Did the president notice? I happened to master this ability by chance. He had no intention of hiding it, as there was nothing to conceal. Heart drop technique is one of his trump cards, but for a strong player like Nitero, there's no need to hide it, especially after using it. Oh. Is that so? Young people today are incredible, mastering such rare abilities. I truly didn't lose the game unjustly. Nitero remarked with admiration. Chapter 22, the heart drop technique is an ability that many top masters never master, and those who do often reach this level later in life. For Ethan Wells to have mastered it at his age, even if not the youngest, is a testament to his excellence and talent. I'm just lucky. Ethan said modestly. Lucky, are you? Nitero gave an enigmatic smile and cast a thoughtful glance at Ethan. Heart drop technique is an understanding born out of life and death experiences. Even with exceptional talent, without repeated realizations in such situations, mastering it skillfully is impossible. Ahem. Since you won this game, I'll honor my promise. Head to the next room to rest. I'll join you shortly. Nitero didn't probe into how Ethan mastered the heart drop technique, instead shifting the topic and gesturing toward one wall. Alright, I'll take a rest then. Ethan glanced at Gon, who seemed eager, and Killua, who was watching him intently. With a nod, he exited the room after a brief farewell. As long as Nitero acknowledged his debt, Ethan had the patience to wait. The adjacent room was a reception area. Once inside, Ethan found a nearby sofa and sat down. Though he appeared to close his eyes for rest, he was actually examining the rewards. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for completing the King of Games achievement and receiving the reward, Light Spirit Fruit. The moment Ethan secured the ball, the system notification chimed. Naturally, he now reviewed the Light Spirit Fruit reward in detail. Light Spirit Fruit, a precious fruit that lightens the body without altering its strength. The system's introduction was brief, but the effects and functions were clear and easy to grasp. After absorbing the information about the Light Spirit Fruit, Ethan pondered. The benefits of a lighter body are obvious: enhancing flexibility. Whether dodging, moving, or attacking, speed increases. Especially noteworthy is that this lightening effect doesn't reduce body strength. Physical enhancement, excluding changes in body shape, primarily stems from muscle and bone. Take Ethan, for example. Though his body appears only slightly stronger, his muscle and bone density far exceed those of a similar build. The most direct manifestation is weight. Currently, his weight is over 200 kilograms. Without strength mastery, he'd be quite heavy when walking. Of course, such high body density also enhances defense. Unless power is deliberately unleashed, even a knife slash would barely damage his defense. Thus, Ethan was pleasantly surprised and satisfied with the Light Spirit Fruit's ability to lighten his body without affecting strength. The system's rewards have never disappointed me. Though I don't know exactly how light the Light Spirit Fruit will make my body, any improvement is enough to boost my strength. Ethan mused. As an enhancer non-user, his fighting style is naturally direct. Enhancing non can boost offensive and defensive capabilities, but the essence of combat lies in the body. Besides strength, speed is crucial. A lighter body naturally enhances strength. If not for the inappropriate setting, Ethan would have tested the Light Spirit Fruit's effects immediately. Click. After about an hour, the door opened, and Netero entered. Ethan, seated on the sofa with eyes closed in concentration, opened them as the door swung open. Seeing Netero walk in, he stood to greet him. Ha 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 ha. You've been waiting a while. Netero said with a smile. Despite the prolonged play, he showed no fatigue, looking as refreshed as if he'd just taken a stroll. It was a good chance to rest. Ethan replied casually. After brief pleasantries, they each took a seat. Netero quickly moved to the main topic, looking at Ethan with a smile. All right, if you have any questions, just ask. I won't withhold anything I can share. He won't withhold what he can share, implying he won't divulge what he won't. Ethan sensed the nuance but didn't dwell on it, knowing the initiative lay with Netero. Then I won't be shy. The first question is about 100 Styles Guanyin. Ethan gazed at Netero intently. I've heard from some sources that you have a move called 100 Styles Guanyin. The more I learned, the more curious I became. So I wanted to ask, is your 100 Styles Guanyin a form of Nen? 100 Styles Guanyin, Netero's ultimate move. Anyone familiar with this move would be amazed, as it's extremely powerful, possibly the strongest move among humans in this world. But now, Ethan expressed doubts about 100 Styles Guanyin, even questioning whether it was Nen. Netero looked at Ethan in surprise. It wasn't because Ethan knew of 100 Styles Guanyin. Though he'd rarely used it in recent years, or rather, few warranted its use in his early years, he was unrivaled worldwide with this move. Thus, anyone with sufficient intelligence capabilities could investigate 100 Styles Guanyin without surprise. What truly surprised Netero was Ethan's ability to discern the unusual nature of 100 Styles Guanyin at his age. Chapter 23. After the surprising turn of events, Netero became quite intrigued and asked, I'm curious, why do you question whether 100 Styles Guanyin is Nen? Do you think it might not be? Well, I do have some doubts. Ethan Wells replied. From the information I've gathered about you, President, 100 Styles Guanyin seems a bit unlike Nen, or at least it doesn't conform to the usual perception of Nen. Most people wouldn't question such a move as anything other than Nen, but Ethan was different. Coming from another world, he possessed insights and thought frameworks beyond those of this world. First was his knowledge of Netero. In the original story, it's stated that at 46, Netero felt he'd reached the limit of his physical and martial arts capabilities, and then began practicing strikes with gratitude, achieving speed beyond common sense. Before that, it was unlikely that Netero wasn't an user, or that he hadn't developed Nen. In other words, the characteristics of 100 Styles Guanyin seem more like those born from Netero's enlightenment through gratitude, rather than something developed from Nen. Of course, it's possible that Netero had superior abilities and developed a rare second Nen. The classification of 100 Styles Guanyin is quite complex. On the surface, this move appears to be Transmuter's telekinesis, yet his fighting style leans towards Enhancer. In the battle between Netero and Merwim, the Ant King, it seems, 100 Styles Guanyin, struggles to even dent the Ant King's defense, but in reality, its attacks are far from weak and are indeed very powerful. Throughout the battle, the Ant King isn't defenseless. Each time he's hit by 100 Styles Guanyin, he resists and counters. Yet the results are him being powerfully knocked back by 100 Styles Guanyin. Such a powerful attack style is typically found in enhancers. There are also traces of imiter, conjurer, and manipulator in 100 Styles Guanyin. Every time Ethan reflected on 100 Styles Guanyin, after encountering Nen, he sensed the move's complexity. It appears to transcend the constraints of the Nen categories, integrating all categories into one and achieving a high level in each. Although Ethan is still far from mastering the power of 100 Styles Guanyin, it doesn't deter his exploration. This desire to explore was one of the reasons he took the Hunter exam. Because during this exam, Netero would be present, providing opportunities to interact and clarify his doubts about 100 Styles Guanyin. Isn't it a normal perception? Ha 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 ha. An interesting perspective. So what do you think the essence of Nen is? Netero inquired. Nen is the epitome of aura. Ethan answered without hesitation, as this is the common understanding among Nen users. But after answering, Ethan had a realization. Nen is a comprehensive expression of aura, yet this expression lacks a standard definition. It simply represents a more advanced application of aura. If that's the case, could 100 Styles Guanyin, which also stems from self-reflection, be a more advanced form of Nen? This train of thought shifted Ethan's expression from contemplation to surprise. Ultimately, his understanding of Nen, whether from his experiences after time travel or the original story, was limited to a certain extent, not a complete understanding. It seems you've realized something. Netero observed Ethan's reaction with a slight smile. Ethan nodded and said, a little. While I haven't fully grasped it, I do have some ideas. Pausing, he continued earnestly, President, do you think abilities like 100 Styles Guanyin can be acquired through practice? No one would turn away from such power as 100 Styles Guanyin. Understanding its form, Ethan naturally wanted to try learning it. Why not? Netero replied with a smile. Is it really possible? Ethan's interest was piqued, and he eagerly asked, please advise me, President. I'd love to teach you, but it's not just about learning. You're still far from ready. Netero spread his hands, speaking candidly. Ethan asked humbly, then where should I start strengthening? You need improvement in mind, body, and skill. Netero said bluntly. Ethan pondered, mind, body, and skills. Before Netero began practicing strikes with gratitude, he felt his body and martial arts had reached their limits, akin to body and technique. As for the mind, didn't his later training encompass heart discipline? Suddenly, clarity washed over Ethan, as if clouds had parted to reveal the sun. Though Netero appeared to criticize Ethan's shortcomings, in reality, he'd shown how to cultivate abilities like 100 Styles Guanyin. Thank you, President, for your guidance. Ethan thanked Netero sincerely. Ha 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 ha. I did nothing. Everything depends on your ability. Netero laughed. The reason he shared so much was because Ethan had mastered the heart drop technique at a young age, showing enough potential. Much like Netero's final battle with the Ant King, he'd rather die magnificently in a grand fight than slowly wither away. If Ethan could truly comprehend such power, he would be worthy of a real battle with Netero. This was the outcome Netero hoped for. Chapter 24, Late at Night. I really hit the jackpot this time. Ethan Wells, walking through the corridor, felt elated knowing that many of the spiritual quandaries that had previously troubled him were now resolved. After discussing the 100 Styles Guanyin with Netero, Ethan didn't stop there. He shamelessly continued seeking advice on various aspects of practice. It turns out being persistent pays off. With Netero's vast knowledge and experience, even a small hint can be immensely beneficial. In terms of Nen, Ethan's background is self-taught. He either learned by observing battles with other Nen users or relied on his understanding from the original story. While his growth rate wasn't slow, it certainly wasn't smooth. From Netero's immediate advice, Ethan not only avoided many future pitfalls but also found the potential to leap ahead. Reflecting on the difference guidance makes, Ethan moved on to another matter. After walking a bit further, Ethan turned a corner and quickly found an unoccupied room to enter. He hadn't forgotten about the reward. With his practice questions resolved, it was time to claim it. After checking the room and ensuring there were no issues, Ethan summoned the light spirit fruit from the system. A fruit the size of a strawberry appeared in his hand. Like the blood body, nothing seemed out of the ordinary from the outside. Without hesitation, Ethan tossed it into his mouth and consumed it. Boom. As the fruit entered his stomach, its energy quickly dissolved, spreading through his limbs and bones, nourishing his body in a mysterious way. If the blood body's energy was fiery, then the light spirit fruit felt as cool as moonlight, like plunging into a refreshing stream in the heat of summer, causing an involuntary shiver. The cold energy lasted over a minute. When it subsided, Ethan felt the changes in his body. His body felt as if, after a long period of weight training, the weights were suddenly removed, leaving him feeling light and relaxed. Unable to resist, Ethan tested it out. He gently pushed off with his feet, and his body soared toward the ceiling several meters high. However, Ethan didn't panic. He reacted quickly, and with extreme agility, he somersaulted, planting both feet on the ceiling before springing toward a wall. Swish, swish, swish. The room echoed with a continuous sound of slicing through the air, as after images darted back and forth to every corner. Despite the room's limited space, where a single mistake could be costly, Ethan moved with astonishing speed, his movements flexible and smooth. After a while, Ethan stopped mid-motion and landed back in his original spot with a graceful flip. It's an incredible feeling. Though my body hasn't changed, it feels so much lighter. The light spirit fruit. Such a treasure is simply amazing. Ethan marveled. Even with the system's introduction, experiencing the light spirit fruit firsthand exceeded Ethan's expectations. From the test, his body's agility and speed improved by at least 20 to 30%. With enhanced agility and speed, his strength undoubtedly took another significant leap forward. Hisoka. Ethan suddenly smiled. He eagerly anticipated a battle with Hisoka. Even if Hisoka's strength wasn't among the top non-users, it wouldn't be far off. Facing such a master provides invaluable training and a better understanding of his own level. When Ethan returned to the room, Shiba was already asleep. Since he'd sweated a lot again, he took another shower and rested comfortably. A night of silence. The next day. As the sun rose, the airship carrying the candidates arrived at its destination. What greeted the candidates was a towering pillar-like building, and the airship landed atop this structure, which was as flat as a ring. Is this the location of the third exam? I wonder what the exam content will be? After a night's rest, I'm back to full health. Whatever the next exam entails, it won't be too challenging for me. This is already the third test. Based on past practices, there should only be 1 or 2 exams left. This time I'll definitely earn a hunter license. The candidates, filled with curiosity, vigilance, or enthusiasm, looked around the building's top as they disembarked the airship. A ball-grabbing game against President Nitaro sounds interesting. You're impressive for winning. It wasn't too difficult, mainly because he only used one hand and one foot. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy to succeed. Ethan and Shiba were among the candidates stepping off, quietly conversing. That morning, Shiba had asked Ethan about the previous night's events. Ethan didn't hide anything and gave a brief account. Though it was a game, Shiba, informed about Nitaro's reputation by Ethan, was quite surprised Ethan had won. Ding dong. Trigger the side achievement, fastest in the trap tower. In the next exam, reach the bottom of the trap tower first to receive generous rewards. Ethan, having just stepped onto the trap tower's top and about to continue speaking with Shiba, paused as a system prompt echoed in his mind. Dear candidates, this is the trap tower, the location of the third exam. The exam's goal is to reach the ground from the top of the tower within 72 hours. Before Ethan could delve into the achievement details, Nitaro's secretary, Beans, acting as the exam commentator, stood at the airship's exit, loudly explaining the exam content to the assembled candidates. Chapter 25, Lisa was drawn in by Bean's voice and listened attentively to the exam details, unaware of any changes in Ethan Wells. Not to mention the other candidates, many looked around in surprise upon learning the exam's content. The trap tower stands at least 100 meters tall, and without stairs, descending seems impossible unless one has special tools. However, Beans wasn't about to reveal the specifics of the trap tower to the candidates. After announcing the exam content, the entrance was sealed, and the airship flew away into the distance. Did another side achievement trigger so soon? Ethan wasn't focused on the other candidates' reactions. Instead, he was pleasantly surprised by the appearance of a new side achievement. Though side achievements aren't as rewarding as main ones, they are akin to the blood body and light spirit fruit top-notch rewards that make him eager. Ethan was naturally thrilled to trigger a side achievement and carefully reviewed its details. Reach the bottom of the trap tower first, huh? So, I need to go through the inside of the tower? That's unfortunate, otherwise, I could use the thread fruit to descend directly from the outside. Let me think. If I remember correctly, the first person to reach the bottom of the trap tower in the original story was Hisoka. I can't recall exactly how long it took, but given Hisoka's strength, it likely wasn't long. In other words, if I want to secure this side achievement, I must navigate the levels as quickly as possible to ensure success. Thoughts raced through his mind. After a moment, Ethan formulated a plan. Let's find a suitable entrance first. Scanning the expansive top of the tower, Ethan discreetly activated the thread fruit. Invisible silk threads extended from his feet, threading through the stone slab gaps like a spider's web, spreading across the tower's top. He recalled that entering the trap tower required finding a rotatable stone slab, with entrances varying between single and multi-person. As he casually strolled, Hisoka suddenly glanced down at his feet. Silk threads. Such an ability is. Hisoka's eyes narrowed as he noticed the threads weaving through the stone slabs. He quickly assessed his surroundings and locked his gaze on a particular spot. In his sight, none other than Ethan was visible. Interesting, he discovered it so quickly? This ability is quite handy. Hisoka's gaze lingered briefly before retracting with a faint smile. Hisoka wasn't the only one to notice Ethan's actions. For instance, Illumi, disguised as Gitracker, couldn't help but glance at Ethan. He's the one who had a conflict with Hisoka. After a quick glance, Illumi attracted his gaze and began inspecting the surrounding stone slabs. I discovered it so quickly. Quite perceptive. Although Hisoka and Illumi's gazes were fleeting, Ethan noticed them and mused inwardly. Of course, he didn't dwell on it, focusing primarily on locating the entrance. The threads weaving through the stone slab gaps easily identified rotatable slabs and even penetrated the connected rooms. Got it. Moments later, Ethan's eyes lit up. He turned to Lisa, who was nearby, and waved. Let's go, follow me. With that, he swiftly moved in one direction. Huh? Did you find it again? Lisa's eyes sparkled, and she immediately followed Ethan without hesitation. Not far off, Ethan led Lisa to a spot on the tower's top. Stopping, he pointed to a stone slab and instructed Lisa, you go down from here, I'll enter through another way. Lisa glanced at the stone slab Ethan indicated. Quick-witted, she grasped the situation immediately. I see, is the entrance set up like this? I'll go down first. With a slight smile, Lisa stepped onto the pointed stone slab. It rotated under her weight, and she descended into the tower. Simultaneously, the rotating slab locked into place, preventing further use. Of course, this assumes no forced destruction. Otherwise, most candidates in the third exam could easily break a mere stone slab. Ethan naturally wouldn't break the slab, not due to exam rules, but because he had another entrance in mind. Once Lisa entered the tower, Ethan took a few steps to a nearby stone slab. Just like Lisa before, when he stepped onto this slab, it rotated, and Ethan descended into the tower. The slab rotated shut, and Ethan landed smoothly within a few meters. Is this what's beneath the entrance? Lisa's voice echoed from beside him, having fallen into the same passage as Ethan. More precisely, the two entrances Ethan chose were connected. Using threads to explore the tower's top and then threading through the stone slab gaps into each passage, finding a double entry path was easy for Ethan. After landing, Ethan quickly surveyed the environment. Similar to the protagonist group's passage in the original story, they found themselves in a room about the size of a bedroom. As he scanned the surroundings, Ethan noticed a screen displaying text on one wall, with a shelf holding 2 bracelets beneath it. Chapter 26, this passage is for 2 people. From here to the end, the route needs to be determined by the choice of the bracelet. Ethan Wells and Lisa both noticed the screen. Lisa walked over, curiously reading the text displayed, her face showing surprise. What does this mean? Are there different routes?